Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome from the UK here to the second European Pain Supported Self-Management Conference, which is hosted by the Pain Toolkit, which is Pete Moore and Dave Oxley, and I'm providing them support. My name's Grainne Daniels. We're really excited about the conference again this morning. Last year's one was a roaring success. And we really enjoyed meeting new people, having familiar faces come and talk to us about the work that they're doing in the world of supporting people to self-manage their pain and hear what innovations people are coming up with. We've got a really stellar lineup of presenters this morning. Unfortunately, one of the featured presenters has had to pull out for personal reasons, but Pete himself is going to be stepping into the frame. So we'll get to hear a bit more about what's going on for him in the world of toolkit and self-management. So without further ado, I will hand over to our first speaker and introduce them to you. Her name is Dershee Devan. She is an occupational therapist from South Africa. Pete met Dershee in Amsterdam at the World Pain Congress, and they had a sort of instant connection and a love of talking about the world of pain, self-management, and supporting people to do that. Dershee works with people who have all types of chronic pain conditions, and she also has a podcast which has featured both Pete and another one of our speakers this morning already in it, and she will be posting a link to that podcast at the end of her talk. So without further ado, I shall hand over to Dershee Devan.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for this opportunity to speak today. I just want to share my screen quickly. Yep, that's the wrong one. Just checking everyone can see my slides.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so today I'd like to talk about how we change the conversation about pain. And to start off, I'm going to talk about the recovery journey very briefly, finding the right team, safety, and how do we get there? Because it all sounds great, but I think what mostly people who suffer with pain every day want to know is, how do we actually get there? You know, how do we get to a recovery journey, and how do we get to a place where we can get our lives back, basically? So before we go there, let's talk about a pain-centered life, because that is something that everyone's familiar with. And pain really interrupts. It prioritizes protection, it interferes with your activity, it reduces your quality of life, and it often alters your identity, specifically if you suffer with persistent pain. And you know what I say to the people that I treat and I see with persistent pain is that pain takes from you. And this is true. You have a pain-centered life. This lovely diagram from Live Well with Pain shows you exactly how it takes for you. So it takes from you almost in all areas of your life. And it's not a great place to be. And often the people that I see and the people, you know, that I've worked with and the people that I've interviewed on my podcast will tell you about this pain cycle that they were in. And then let's talk about the recovery journey. So the recovery journey is not so straightforward. I think we all have a plan. We have a plan that we're going to go from point A to point B, like the diagram above, you know, and we think we're going to get there quickly, and we think that some kind of medication or intervention or therapy or whatever it is, you know, wherever you've gone in your journey with pain is going to sort you out. You know, it's going to fix the pain. It's going to end up with you no longer having pain or getting back to the life that you used to have. But unfortunately, the reality is much like the lower diagram. And I love this diagram because it actually tells you so much about what a recovery journey can look like. It's not simple. It's not the A to B route. It's the route at the bottom where there are going to be valleys and, tightropes and possibly getting into a boat and wading across a lake and bridges and bad weather. So it's not simple. It's not straightforward. There are lots of ups and downs, but if you persist and you have the right kind of help and support, you can get to a better place. You can get to a place where you can get back your life. But it's also about letting go. So, sorry. Whoa. There we go.
I think I needed to let go. I needed to let go of the idea of what felt this preconception of what needs to be done. I'd been seeing doctors that weren't my choice. I'd been seeing people at clutches to try and figure it out.
Yes.
I was holding on to a job and feeling so unjust that they didn't hear me, that they didn't see me, and they weren't supporting me. And the moment that I let that go and said, well, actually, what am I fighting for? All these things that are actually making life so much harder. Why am I fighting for them? And I need to let go of this idea of what life should look like and be open to what it possibly could be. Maybe I don't know what that is, but whatever is happening in me.
Okay, so it is about letting go. Letting go sometimes of this concept that there's got to be a quick fix, that someone is going to take your pain away. Because really, it's more about finding the right team. And Virginia, who's going to speak later after me, had a great explanation of this. I'm just going to play that. What was the one thing that kind of started that journey for you?
The start of that journey for me was when I was finally someone had that light bulb moment to do a referral to a pain clinic and thought maybe I love with this chronic pain, and to go there, and I never heard of the term chronic pain before, persistent pain, never heard of it. And for someone to sit there and listen to me, to not get up and walk away, not to roll their eyes, and to believe that my pain was real. And that was the first. And as I cried and the story come out, I wasn't shut down. And that was huge. That was just huge, because it was the first time that someone in years believed, because I didn't know what was going wrong with me. I had no idea what this unexplained pain was. So when someone could tell me what it was, what had happened, and provide some knowledge, it really made a huge difference.
Okay, so one of the most important things for me is that you have to find the right team. Finding the right team is really, really important. And part of the issue is that as healthcare providers, we focus on restoring function. And the issue with that is some healthcare providers, not all, but some healthcare providers believe they do need to fix you. So they will continually try to fix you. And if you are someone who suffers with chronic persistent pain, you will know that actually there isn't a fix. There isn't one thing that's going to help you. And that's the reason that you need to find a team. You need to find a team of people. But it's not that simple. So finding the right team can be quite difficult. And often, we're looking for the right fit, looking for the right team. And that's what your journey looks like before you actually find somebody that is the perfect fit for you, or the team that works for you. It's not so easy to find the right team. So even though I'm saying find the right team, I'm aware that it isn't as easy to do, to find the team or the people that are going to help you and support you and understand your pain in the way that you need them to. So the next concept I want to talk about is the fact that, we always talk about treatment of pain, and as healthcare providers, we talk about treatment of pain, but with people who suffer with pain, you also talk about, I need someone to treat my pain. And that treatment aspect, that's really equating to the fixing of pain. And it's not really about fixing of pain, it's more about the fact that we actually need to listen to it and manage it. So instead of trying to solve the pain by getting rid of it, we need to pay attention. We need to listen to what our pain experience is telling us and learn to manage it. And as this conference is showing you, there is a way for you to manage it by yourself, often with support and often with the right team. And that's why you're here, to hear about how can you manage this yourself? How can you get there? Okay. And that's the one thing I really want to emphasize. It's not about treating your pain. It is about managing it. And you can do this yourself with the right team and with the right support. The other thing pain management or pain self-management is about, for me, is very much about safety. So this picture that you see here is from Jo Belton, and she's an amazing lived experience advocate. She has a blog and a site called My Cup of Joe. Please look for her. She is amazing in how she talks about pain and how she educates people about pain and how she really fights for people with pain. And it really is like this, it looks like you've just stepped on a Lego block, but actually what it feels like is like you want to die from the amount of pain that you're experiencing. So it is about safety, physical safety, in that you have these thoughts of, can I move? If I move, will I not cause damage? I mean, can I move without causing damage? You have this insecurity, about what is going on with you physically. And then on a psychological aspect, you're also thinking, will I be okay? Can I recover if I move? So there's this question mark in your brain of, oh, if I move, is it going to be dangerous? If I move, am I going to hurt myself? If I move, can I recover from the fact that I've moved? Am I going to get hurt? Because pain is horrible. Nobody wants to experience pain every day. But if you're someone who suffers with persistent pain, you don't really have a choice. It's there, right? It's there next to you, literally 24/7. But it is about moving. And another one of my podcast interviews will tell you a little bit more. It's about moving within your soft limits. And Louise does, she says it so eloquently.
A saying I've heard recently, which I really, really like. I first heard it from a lady called Betsan Corkill, who runs an organization called Stitch Links, and she does Tai Chi, and she said to me once that it's about moving within our soft limits, and I really like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, and that's right. You just keep going until you feel like you absolutely need to stop, and then just stop.
Yeah.
And take a break and then go again. And that's how I approached my walking for the first year after coming off opioids. I would go out and walk and stop and walk and stop and walk and stop. And it would take all day, but that was fine. That was absolutely fine.
So moving is safe. It really is. But again, you need the right team. You need the right support. You need the right knowledge to know how to do it. But once you start moving, you will realize that it is possible and that you can do this. Okay? So one thing I want to bring up is the boom bust cycle. And the reason I want to talk about this is where I see most, if not a lot, of the people that I help with pain. when they come to me, they're often in this cycle. Now, what is a boom-bust cycle? So a boom-bust cycle basically means when you don't have a lot of pain or you have no pain on that day, it's a good day. You will do a lot. You will do everything you need to. Wash your car, clean your house, work, look after your kids, walk the dog. You will do everything you need to because you're having a good day, right? So you go out and you do everything that you need to do because you don't know what tomorrow's going to look like. And so you do. You do a lot. And then what happens is the next day you have a flare up and your pain is off the charts and you're just unable to do anything. Okay. And you might be unable to do anything for 24 hours or longer, 2 days, 3 days. Some days, some people tell me for 3 days they can't do anything after they've had a good day. So they have one good day, then they have 3 bad days, then they have one good day again. Then it's back to 2 or 3 bad days. So it's the cycle of doing and then not being able to do much. And if you keep in the cycle of up and down, doing, not doing, doing, not doing, you end up over time being able to do less and less and less. And it is what we call activity persistence, where you're just persisting and getting all of these things done, and then resulting in activity avoidance where you just stop. Okay. So when you're trying to push through regardless and get things done, that would be the booming. And if you're now avoiding and lying in bed and on the couch because you actually just can't, that's the busting. So that's why we call it a boom bust cycle. And this is what most people that I see with pain come in with. So, what we want to do is get rid of that. So how do we do that? So you've heard already of doing things slowly and doing it within your soft limits. We call it pacing. Okay. So pacing is what I teach most of my clients. We've got to very carefully set baseline activity levels for you. We've got to very gradually increase it. But it also requires confidence to do this because it is a scary place. That's why you have to feel safe in order to move and in order to do this. So Pete's going to tell you more about that.
Because it's about getting your confidence back.
Yes.
Once you've got your confidence back, then you can start thinking about, oh, yeah, God, well, yeah, I met Bill down the cafe. We had I met him there and we had a little chat and everything, and oh, yeah, and we paced ourselves and stuff. Yeah, I'm going to try something a little bit more, start getting adventurous and stuff like that.
Okay, because it is about being confident to move. It is about feeling safe to move. And again, it's about the right team, the right support to be able to do that. So how do we get there? Okay. So for me, pain self-management is about learning about your pain. And why is it important to learn about your pain? It's important to learn about your pain because your pain is not simple. Pain is complex. It has many layers, like an onion. And every time you peel away a layer, you find another layer and you wonder, wow, how did that get there? And it involves your brain, it involves your nervous system, all parts of your body and all other systems in your body. So it's about learning about your pain because once you learn about it and you understand what's happening in your body, you can then learn how to manage that better. It's also about having a healthy lifestyle. So what are we doing about sleep? What are we doing about nutrition? What are you putting into your body? Are you giving your body the fuel that it needs to be able to do what it needs to do? And it's about physical activity and moving within your soft limits. It's about regaining your meaning and purpose. So most people that I help, have lost their meaning and purpose. So it's about getting that back and looking after your emotional well-being, because that's also part of your pain experience. Finding the right team, safety, really important. And that's where the hope comes from. Once you start to find the right team, once you start to find the right support, you have hope that things could be better. You start to regain your sense of control once you start to do these things. And eventually, over time, you're going to gain more resilience. You're going to become stronger and you will be able to manage your pain better. Because essentially what we want to do is take you from a pain cycle or a pain-centered life to the self-care cycle, where you're looking after yourself, where you're more active, where you know what to do when you have a flare-up, where you're fitter and you're eating well and you're sleeping better and you're spending time with your family and friends and getting your life back, basically. So my take-home message: the brain and nervous system can change due to neuroplasticity. So I haven't talked a lot about this, but this is about this learning about pain. And it's an important concept because your brain and nervous system do change when you have persistent pain. But the important thing to remember is because it has neuroplasticity, it means we can change our pain experience. We can influence the brain. We can influence the nervous system to do what we need it to do. Okay? Safety means finding the right team. It means finding the right support. And our end goals are really about self-management, getting yourself back to functioning and independence, and participating in your daily life. That's what it's all about. And you can get there. You will get there if you have all of these things in place. And that's me. So these are my details. That's the link if anyone needs it or needs to take a picture for the podcast, because what I've shared is just snippets. I really would encourage you to go and listen to the stories. They're stories of recovery, of people who live with persistent pain, but despite that, have had a recovery journey, live lives with meaning and purpose. They still have pain, but they're doing so much. And those are my details. Please feel free to go to my website or to contact me or mail me if you need any information. I'm really happy to share resources or help with anyone. Thank you very much for the invite. Thank you.
Thank you, Dershee. That's brilliant. Thank you. I obviously, we love everything that you're talking about there. You're linked to sort of loads of resources. We did have one question that had come in online before the conference, which was about like how do we do things in different countries? Like, are there some of the resources that you link to here are all sort of UK based, or there's things that are American based? Are there any specific resources that are out there in South Africa for South African people that are either done in native languages or anything that are easier for people to access?
So it is difficult because globally we have a problem. We have countries that have more resources and organizations that can provide resources and can provide help. So I mean, Virginia is doing really well in Canada, and the UK has a lot of resources, and there are some in the United States as well. But most countries, we have difficulty because we don't even have enough pain-informed clinicians or healthcare providers to help you. But we're getting better at it. I have to say, in South Africa, I mean, I've been in this, specializing in treating and helping people with pain for 16 years. So in the beginning, when I started, we were just a handful and nobody knew about pain, actually, or helping people with pain. And now we're bigger and we're better. So we have a pain society. We don't have enough lived experience experts in our country, and it's one of the things that I am trying to get going. We do have something called the Arthritis Foundation that helps people with arthritis and autoimmune conditions, but it's not enough. So what they're doing is not enough even. So I am really trying to, what I'm trying to do is what I'm trying to drive currently in our country is to get people with the lived experience of pain who are experts to try and help others who have pain, because access to healthcare is difficult globally. And in South Africa, we have a parallel healthcare system. So people actually can't access the private healthcare system. Is under-resourced, poorly managed, very difficult to get the right healthcare for pain specifically. We have 2 free pain clinics in the public system, but they're overloaded. It's very
Yeah.
difficult to get help. They have long waiting lists. And then in the private healthcare setting, you do have people that can help you, but it's very costly. So
Yeah.
people can't afford the help. So we're sitting with the gap, right? So no
Yeah.
one can access healthcare and the right help, which is why I'm driving
Yeah.
this kind of free help
Yeah.
from people with lived experience. It's essentially free help. And that's why I started the podcast, because
Yeah.
the podcast, if you listen to the podcast, you will hear people talk about the things that helped and how they got there and what they
Yeah.
did, and it's different for everyone, and it
Hmm.
will be different for everyone.
Yeah.
But finding the right people is really important. So I'm trying to assist and help, but unfortunately, it isn't as easy depending on where you are. I mean, I'm very happy for people to contact me. I do have, contacts in a few countries all over the world, so I can help. But I mean, Peter's here, Virginia's here. There's a lot of people that are going to speak today that have, resources and
Yeah.
can help. And most people can go online. So I do use a lot of resources from the
Yeah.
UK, because you can access it online and you can give people the links to access it as well.
That is one of the brilliant things about the internet and everything else, isn't it? And
Yes.
you can get stuff that's easily translatable. But you're right, it's that the importance of that lived experience thing. It does take quite a lot of time to embed in, and that's one of the things that's quite exciting about Professor Sam, who's coming along later on, because he's part of the expert patient and carer group within the British Pain Society, and he's doing a bit of a talk on that. So that'll hopefully provide some more ideas and suggestions for you, which is really good. I also really liked that idea that, and it comes across as a thread every time we do events like this, when we're talking to people who are living well alongside their pain. They have started that journey, and the common thread that always comes across is those ideas of letting go of what their expectations were of who they should have been and what they should have been able to do, and then just that sense of slowly building up their confidence to be the new them, and who that person is, and learning who that person is and moving forward with it. And that definitely seems to be something that can only happen to that individual. It's not actually something that healthcare providers can do to them, but it's providing that supportive environment, and that as Virginia sort of said, that listening and validating and believing, the power of being believed is truly incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, but also to just understand that it is incredibly difficult to
Yeah.
let go.
Mm.
It is incredibly difficult to let go. And I say all of these things, I present on it, but I absolutely understand that it is difficult to shift. It is difficult to let go, because in the letting go, you're actually letting go of the fact that you are not going to find the silver bullet.
Mm.
You're not going to find that silver bullet that's going to take your pain away completely straight away.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's very difficult
Yeah.
to let that go when you are living with pain on a daily basis, when pain controls your life, when you have a pain-centered life. It's very difficult to let go of the fact that I might not ever have a pain-free day.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be compassionate, and we need to be kind, and we need to understand where that person is, and understand that it will take time for them to get to where they need to be. And some people get there quicker, some people take longer, but to be patient with them and to be kind, I think that's really important.
Is there good access, or is there access in South Africa to sort of mental health professionals who specialize in chronic pain, sort of clinical psychologists and things like that, to help people?
So we do have mental health professionals in our country, but we don't have as many of them specializing in pain. It's one of the things that I do. So I also train a lot of clinicians, healthcare providers in pain and treating people with pain, to kind of get them to do this. And I have got some psychologists that have managed to train, but we don't have enough, unfortunately. But that's our problem in South Africa. We don't have enough healthcare professionals, period. We don't have enough for the population.
Yeah.
But we are making some inroads slowly. But yeah, like everywhere in the world, you you get what you get, I
You can
suppose.
only go forward, and that's clearly what you
Yes.
guys are doing there. So that's
Yes.
brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Dershee. That was really good.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Ronja, there's a question just coming in the chat you might want to pick up.
I did see that. Have we got time to pick that up before we move forward?
Yes, we've got 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. So there was a question that came in there, Dershee, and actually it's one that other people might have ideas on as well. It's about the suggestion of, do we have any specific suggestions on how to help people let go when they come to seek help, but they're still looking for answers? When do you stop ordering more tests or getting more? And we see this a lot in the UK, specifically where I work in a pain clinic here. There's that real balance to be struck between making sure you've actually investigated things to make sure that there isn't an underlying condition going on that could actually reliably be treated. But at what point, do we help?
What point do we call it
and make that shift? And have you any specific suggestions of things that you say to people that to sort of help them move past that?
It's difficult. It really is difficult. What I can say is that if you have someone who's undergone all the investigations, if you've had your first round of battery of tests and all of those things, because often the reason people want to go and have more tests and investigations is that they've been told nothing's wrong with them, right? They've been told we can't find the reason for your pain. And so people are constantly searching for that reason. But if you've had that and people are saying, no, we can't find the reason for your pain, I agree, it's very difficult to move on. And a client of mine comes to mind. She came to me and she had had repeated interventions and surgeries actually for her abdominal pain. And yet they couldn't really find anything wrong with her. And what really, for me, what really traumatizes me is the fact that she had surgeons who thought it was okay to operate on her, even though there wasn't anything wrong. And that's where I find part of the problem is that we have these healthcare providers who feel like they need to fix you, so they will do things like surgery and interventions and investigations, even though it's not necessary. And what that does is it drives this belief in you that something is wrong with me. Because why would the doctor operate on me? Why would he send me for interventions or investigations if there's nothing wrong with me? And so what I often do when people come to me is I say to them, you're going to have to trust me and trust now in this new journey that we're going to embark on. But in order for us to move forward, I have to have an agreement from you that you are going to no longer go down this path of having more interventions or surgeries or investigations. So we have to have an agreement that when we start this journey, we're going to stop interventions. And the reason she comes to me is, she did really well. She actually ended up having pain-free days and reducing her meds and only taking it for flare-ups. She came back to me and she said, the turning point for me was when you said to me, I can't have any more interventions. I need to stop. It was very hard for me. I went home and, I had a meltdown, basically, because someone said to me that I have to stop. And I thought that I have to keep going until someone solves my pain.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So you'd sort of given her permission almost to kind of get off that sort of moving free and of I've got to go see the next professional, and you'd given her permission to do that. Professor Sam has got his hand up, so I'll go over to him if Dave will take his microphone off.
Hello there. Thanks very much. I'd just like to respond to something that you said, Dershee, a very important point about the people who are searching for a cause for their pain and going to all lengths to find the cause. And of course, as a doctor, that's what my natural reaction would be, to try and find the cause and treat the cause, and maybe even prevent the cause. That's even better. But I think what we need to share is that actually we now have an international definition of chronic primary pain. And that's a pain for which we cannot find a cause. There is not a biological cause, but that's not to say the pain is not real. It's absolutely real within the person, and they don't have to keep looking for that cause. And there are guidelines for how to manage chronic primary pain. It's a new concept in medicine, even in pain medicine. But I think that's really important that we can say to patients, you don't have to keep going to the ends of the earth and paying lots of money to find that cause, because the cause is within you and we just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a difficult place sometimes, though, for us as healthcare professionals, sometimes to get to be the person that goes, we know that we're defining it as this. We don't have all the answers, because of course we do like to feel that we've gone into this to try and find answers for people. So it's on us as healthcare professionals to be open and honest about the fact that there's still stuff we don't know, but that it's that belief in people, isn't it? Because often what struck me when you were talking, Dershee, is that when I'm seeing people in a pain clinic who are still searching for, well, I've had this test and didn't show anything, and do I need more, is almost that they still feel, when those tests come back negative, that they still feel disbelieved about the pain that they're in. And actually, by reassuring them that your pain is 100% real, we have this, there are these definitions now for chronic primary pain where there's no underlying disease process. We believe you. You are experiencing what you're experiencing. We don't have a fix for it, but we believe you. And that's often very, very powerful. Pete's put a thing in there. I can't quite see what that is. What have he said?
He said, back in the day, I was a doctor and a therapy shopper looking for answers. And that's what we see. That's what we see. Most people are looking for answers, and it is reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you look for answers if you have pain that won't go away? But it's exactly as you said, it's about the fact that you get to a place and you kind of have to step back and go, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Now what do I do? I've got all the answers, and then
that's where the safety is important, isn't it? It's if you're with a person that you feel believes you and you feel safe with them and you can build trust with them, you're much more likely to move forward.
Absolutely. For me, the most important thing about treating people with pain, the most important thing is having a good relationship with them, and having a relationship where they trust you and they believe that you're going to be able to help them, but that you can hold them.
Yeah.
You can hold them, that they're not going to fall. You can hold them. You've got them, and you're going to be with them going forward. You're walking beside them. I think that's, for me, the most important thing.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Right. We'll go forward now to our next presenter. And we're really pleased today to have representatives from two big worldwide sort of pain organisations. And the first of these today is Dr. Patrice Forget from EFIC, which is a European pain federation. I'm sorry, my brain has gone completely. I am a woman of a certain age, so I have completely forgotten what EFIC stands for, but I know it's European, so you can help us out with that, Patrice. You currently work, I believe, as a consultant in Scotland, but as Pete was telling me that he first met you when you were running the Belgian Pain Society way back in the day. So you're going to give us a bit of a talk on the sort of work that EFIC is doing around sort of pain and pain self-management, etc. So I will hand over to you.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Do not hesitate to tell me if the audio is not good, but it looks okay.
Oh, no, it's good.
You are perfectly right when introducing me. The European Pain Federation is the right wording. EFIC actually stands for European Federation of IASP chapters.
Right.
So that's a complex acronym. That's why European Pain Federation is easier.
Yeah.
I've heard many fantastic words till now, and I think it's a perfect articulation with my 10-minute talks when thinking about investigations, I would also answer first, do no harm. That's very important because patients do expect from professionals not harming them by unnecessary investigations. That's extremely important. We have mentioned the new WHO classification of diseases and especially pain condition and primary pain syndromes, but also secondary pain syndromes. So that also implies that sometimes can be secondary, of course, but in many cases it can be primary. I will just have one word about this new classification because that's a very important progress. And then in my background, you have the EFIC Academy, which is aiming at educating professionals. And that's very important because we've mentioned the lack of pain-informed clinicians and the problems that it has when speaking about access to care.
Yeah.
My talk will be about how professionals have also learned directly from patients and empowered patients, and how can we learn from each other, also recognizing that it can be difficult for people living with pain to be empowered. So that's not a simple story, but I will try to make it slightly more simple, or at least to show what we have done. So I'll go to probably to the other. Yes, maybe that way you see social impact of pain platform title. I've chosen to focus on the SIP project because that's the main advocacy project at EFIC. I'll mention the other advocacy projects we have, but I think it's a perfect example on how we can, as professionals, learn much from patients and people living with pain, but also how we can inform then later on the research world and also our decision makers. SIP is a platform that I chair, but co-chair is Lisa Jutila. She's the vice president of Pain Alliance Europe, and that's very important to have a platform co-chaired by patient. And the engine of SIP is Angela Cano Palomares at EFIC. So the scientific leadership is led by EFIC, but it's really co-led with patient representatives. So that's extremely important. The first objective of pain advocacy is to raise awareness. And raising awareness is not that simple. It's extremely important when we speak about research, education, and of course, policy changes, because for our decision makers, we know that pain is extremely burdensome for individuals living with pain and for the society as well. For the society, it represents about 4% of the GDP. That's just enormous. For individuals living with pain, it's just unacceptable. We really have to change policies and to make people feeling better supported. Then we collaborate with, as professionals, patient advocacy groups, patient organizations, policymakers, and we have sponsors, because without the sponsor of Grainne Daniels, GSK, and Halion, it wouldn't be possible. We have published a number of joint papers, joint statements, trying to influence policies, and we got the endorsement of many different societies. You probably recognize many of those that you know, and that's important then to go back hand in hand with patient to go back to the policymakers to make lines moving. We know that 1 in 5 people in Europe and probably worldwide live with pain, and these people are usually not represented well. They're mostly vulnerable, or they're more vulnerable, not only because living with pain, but also because of the consequences of pain, and the not only biological vulnerability, but psychological and social vulnerability. If being isolated, that's even more difficult to actually change and get more support. So we definitely have to improve that and to make it, or to compensate for that disadvantage and for letting people feeling hurt. Our long-term priorities are quite simple. The economic burden is, of course, important, but the first one is integrated pain management, integrating pain basically everywhere to be sure that people living with pain do not feel disadvantaged in their life, just to help them living their life, but also integrating pain management in the healthcare system and improving the healthcare responsiveness to pain. So that's referring to what we've heard, also pain-informed healthcare professionals. That's an example. So that actually goes to the third one, promoting pain research and pain education. There's still clearly a massive need there. And also promoting the recognition of pain as a chronic condition. We'll have one word about that, and especially for the pain classification. So very concretely, we've published a number of papers and tools, and one that you can easily download on the SIP website is the Book of Evidence that has been endorsed by members of the European Parliament, but other people. That's a tool, that's a small booklet with a lot of evidence that has been designed for non-healthcare professionals. So that can be used when thinking about what kind of information could we share with patients, but also with policymakers, decision makers, and also in our healthcare systems to improve recognition of pain based on evidence. We've published a number of infographics, making it possible to improve the quality of campaigns. I won't go into the details, but it's just to show a few examples. And we've influenced policies. We've been quite pleased that the European Health Data Space integrated our recommendations to integrate this new classification that has been mentioned by Professor Sam, the ICD-11 classification. That's very, very important. That's the latest international classification of diseases of the WHO, the 11th version. That's supposed to be the last one because that will be a dynamic one. And here on the right side of this overcrowded slide, I've just bolded a quote from the patient and patient representative saying that until now, many pain patients have not received an adequate explanation for their pain symptoms, and those living with chronic pain have often suffered from stigma. ICD-11 has new diagnosis for chronic pain that should give many pain patients confidence and validate the cause of their pain. And that's very important, validating the cause of their pain. Pain is often invisible, and thanks to that classification, it will be fortunately documentable, captured in the databases used at the European level and at the global level as well. So that's a big, big progress. We've launched national initiatives, even more than the ones that are mentioned on this slide, and we're eager to continue and to influence policies at national level because, of course, and that's usually the case in the UK as well, it's mostly a national competence. And we have published not only the Book of Evidence, but also a number of publications to go back to the professional world, but also the scientific world and the researchers to be sure that patient voice is heard. In Psychiatry Journal, the Pain and Mental Health Comorbidity, Importance of Pain Management in Cancer Patients to enrich the cancer guidelines to be sure that people are heard there as well when living with pain. And we know that pain and cancer is an enormous burden, especially with people with a history of cancer but being cured. Both patients and the public should be involved in setting the pain research agenda. How important is that? The next one was a BMG response for vulnerable people who are mostly excluded from pain research and pain research projects. And this quote came from a lawyer living with people living in the street. Pain is constant for them. And paradoxically, we're not speaking about pain with them. And why do we need to implement ICD-11 if you want to learn more? Then that has been published also in the European Journal of Pain. You can learn a lot more and find out more on the website. And then you see also other advocacy projects we've launched. So not only the SIP project, but also the Plain Talking campaign EFIC on the move, and of course, when thinking about all the fantastic initiatives, um, Flipping Pain, Living Well, the Pain Toolkit, of course, all that goes in the same direction. That's really fantastic, and we can, of course, learn much more by not being anymore isolated clinicians, but learning from patients to better educate clinicians as well. Here you have the QR code. That's my last slide, the website. And thank you for the invitation again, because I really think that thanks to that kind of initiative, we can work much better, not only for primary prevention of pain and to help people not to go in the progression of acute to chronic pain, but also when people live with pain, to better live their life, despite the fact that they have to learn to live with. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's really brilliant. I'll just start my video again. I think what's really nice, I mean, I really appreciate your times this morning, both of you, because I think what can often feel the case either for individuals on the street in the coming to clinics who are living with pain, and for those of us clinicians sometimes who are at the front line in different countries around the world, it can often feel like there's quite a big gulf between what we're doing and the change that we see and actually what might be happening at that national and societal and government policy level. So it's actually really nice to get that snapshot of actually the work that organisations are trying to do. We know it takes a long time to shift sort of public health perceptions, to shift policies and to make changes, but it's really good to see that although the gulf is there, we are all kind of pulling in the same direction, and that's really important, because I mean, I don't know if you know that one of the things that had come through, there was a bit of a question around kind of, you know, how much of a role directly does policy changes at sort of government and organisation level have on actually improving pain management in clinics. And I don't know whether that's something we can define or not in terms of how long it often takes to have those policy changes trickle down into frontline work.
Yeah, so if I take as an example the first priority about integrating pain and integrated pain care, when we speak about lack of informed pain, lack of pain-informed healthcare professionals, but also lack of pain-informed systems in general, we definitely need to integrate that much better in the policies and to be sure that people with a vulnerability and pain is definitely an important one, have the right to be better supported. And that's the case in care, but that's also when they can self-manage pain, but to better live their life thanks to adjustments that can be done. So integrating that, and so that also includes, improving the education of clinicians, and that's always endangered. So that's a marathon. But for any policies, guidelines, and research projects, we have to have a pain section and a quality of life section integrated there to be sure that it's well recognized. And then for the people living with pain as a condition in its own right, we have to develop and to protect pain services, but also to expand them.
Yeah.
So these two sides are important. Not simple, clearly, but raising awareness, and that's what we're doing today, is definitely the first step, and we can make a difference. The ICD-11 is an example of a difference. It's not nothing, even though these changes are small, progressive. That's a long story.
I think, and I love some of the infograms and things like that people are developing, you know, getting those out there into, you know, individual healthcare practices, GP practices, things like that is really interesting. And there was a question just from, in general for the presenters, from one of the attendees around if people are happy to share their slides afterwards, you know, if people are happy to share any slides, if you can let Pete know if you are happy for your slides to be shared. But
absolutely,
the recording is shared with everybody who attends anyway, so they'll be able to watch it back and see what's going on. But thank you ever so much for your time, Patrice. It's been really
thank you,
much appreciated. Okay, so on to our next presenter, who is the fabulous Virginia McIntyre from Nova Scotia in Canada. She is somebody who's very well known to us at the Pain Toolkit. She's been advocating for pain self-management in Canada for a long while, a member of the Canadian Pain Network, and somebody who is very highly involved in helping to change and shape policies as a advocacy voice on that. So I will hand over to Virginia now, who can introduce herself a little bit more to those who don't know her, and very keen to see what she's going to talk to us about today.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for the wonderful introduction. I will going to share my slides. All right. You can see those slides there.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to put them in
presenter mode. Yeah.
Yeah. One sec. Okay. Can we see them all there? Good.
Yeah, all good.
All good. Okay, thank you. Okay, so as I share, I am Virginia McIntyre, and I'm joining you from Canada, from the East Coast in Canada, from Nova Scotia. It's very early this morning, so I have my coffee ready to go. So what I'm going to talk about today is about, as it says in my title, People at the Center, the People in Pain Network Model for Pain Self-Management. So I am the president of the People in Pain Network, and we are a society that supports people living with pain through peer support. So a little bit about People in Pain Network. We are a registered society here in Canada. And we are driven by volunteers. It is 100% a volunteer community. We are also a nonprofit society, and we offer free meetings. And our support group meetings are a balance between education and support. So our PIPIN's mission really is to foster a national community of support and empower individuals in their pain self-management journey through peer support. Let's talk about, what is pain self-management? Pain self-management is a collection of non-medical strategies and lifestyle changes that empower individuals to take an active role in living better with long-term pain. It means learning and applying skills related to some of the following key areas like pacing and movement, body, mind techniques, and increasing connections. Connections are important. People who live with pain often become very isolated, and self-care. So these are all things within the People in Pain Network that we really embrace and we work on. So a little bit, what is peer support? So peer support can be defined as social and or emotional support that combines expertise from lived experience that is mutually offered. So it is that lived experience. It's us who live with pain who are supporting each other. It is also becomes an area, whether it's online or in person, a space where we feel accepted and understood, which again is very important for people living with pain. Often going through a healthcare system, we're often felt misunderstood. It's bi-directional. So us who are facilitating the meetings are receiving as much as we are giving. We learn from each other. And peer support helps bridge the gaps in the emotional, social, practical, and knowledge base. So empowering self-management through peer support, that's what we do. So what to expect? It's that validation, it's that me too, it's that hearing from others that, yes, that happened to me too. And that validation of your experience helps reduce feelings of misunderstanding. It's that practical wisdom, learning real world strategies, really from those who are living with them, who are living with pain. Hope, seeing others thrive instills hope and strengthens belief in your own ability to manage pain. It provides a very supportive environment, and this can encourage trying new strategies and reflecting on our progress. Self-management skills learned in peer support can reduce the need for other interventions, and often costly interventions too. So Pippin's a little unique, and our unique contribution to supportive self-management is a few things. Our evidence-based curriculum within our peer support groups provide specific tools and knowledge. So everything is around the evidence. Our facilitators are trained to guide the discussions towards actual self-management strategies. And I'll get a little bit more into about the training of our facilitators. Collaboration with experts ensures our approach to both is supportive and informed by research. So within Canada, we have collaboration with our local pain clinics, with Pain Canada, Pain BC, and other national support groups. Pippin's groups become what we often hear our members refer them to as home base, a place for them to practice and refine their skills, a place to feel heard. So as I said, I want to get into a little bit about our facilitators training. When someone comes to us and says, oh, I want to be involved, we say, okay, attend our meetings. Learn about what we're about, see if we're fit, whether you're fit for us and vice versa. We do request background checks in here for our facilitators. They're provided with the facilitators' agreements. That way they know what to expect from us and what we can expect from them. They are provided an extensive training with their national organizations, and this training is structured around the Canadian Mental Health Association. They're structured for peer support with a pain component. We do continue to provide our facilitators training on facilitators basics. We go over about People in Pain Network, and you can look at our website to get very familiar about our website. They're also provided a national dashboard, which with the other peer support organizations in Canada. And this dashboard provides them an area where they can have access to monthly education, monthly talks, their facilitators' handbooks, their slides for their meetings. They're provided continuous supports. We get together with our facilitators probably about every 3 to 4 months. Quarterly, we'll get together, talk about what's happening in your meetings, what your successes, what your challenges. And we learn a lot from each other just getting together and finding out what's going on. I will try to do site visits for in-person meetings. We are thrilled to have just had an in-person workshop with our facilitators, and this is our second one. And we were able to bring a couple of facilitators from other provinces here to join us for the workshop. These workshops are important because it's team building. Our facilitators are not alone in what they do. So a little bit about the competency, what our facilitators learn about, understanding the personal experience and how you use your personal experience in your role as facilitator. They practice cultural respect and safety, building strong interpersonal connections, how to communicate clearly and empathetically, handle crisis intervention, resolve conflicts constructively, demonstrate self-awareness and confidence. We talk about self-care. They learn things about open-ended questions, applying active listening, group dynamics. So their training is quite extensive, and where we continue to do training, we just build on this, and then they learn things about what's new in science and pain science. So strengthen their local and national connections. I've always been a believer it's about collaboration. If we continue to have silos, we're not going to move forward. So within Pippin and in Canada, we have a national collaboration. And this collaboration is with Pain Canada and other national support groups, AQDC. Corrections Canada has opened their first pain support group. And within this, we then develop shared resources. So doing this, we leverage our national expertise and platforms to enhance our offerings by working together. Pippin also has policy influence. We contribute to national dialogue on pain management and the role of peer support, and local collaboration with our pain clinics, our local organizations, to able to go talk to them. We've just collaborated with Seniors Connect in Nova Scotia they just do phone calls because a lot of these seniors are in the 80s, and to work with them about pay and do a monthly meeting and go in there with them too. So it's all about working together and how we can support each other. This is an overview of our meeting structure for our meetings. And a lot of this is the structure is important. The structure is good because it lets the members know what to expect when they come to these meetings. It's important to, at the end of your meetings, to get feedback. It's important to know what's working, what's not working, because there may be tweaks in meetings that you have to have, because this is their meetings. This is what topics they want to hear about, how they want their meetings structured. So it's all about what's working for the people who are attending the meetings at that time. So I'm thrilled to share, we do polling, and we do find out from our member what's working, and we have get some lovely quotes. And one of our members had shared, the shared experiences with pain encourages me that it is impossible to live with pain. So we do polling out, and we ask the members who attend things, why do they attend? And we ask us to connect with others, to increase your knowledge about persistent pain and pain self-management, to provide other support. And as you'll see there, majority of them is all of the above. This is why people attend these meetings. And we have people who've been coming for years. We have people who'll come for a few months, people who'll come dependent on the topic. For those who aren't in Canada, Health Canada a few years back did the federal government a document, Health Canada's Action Plan for Pain. Within this action plan for pain, there's 6 overarching goals. And within goal number 2, they recognize the value and the need for communities and for peer support for people living with pain. So this is part of our care for people. And it's bringing the communities together. So if those who are know a little bit about the stepped care model 2.0, peer support is a part of this model. You look at the adaptive and personalized care. Stepped care 2.0 ensures that individuals receive support tailored to their current needs. Peer support provides a foundational low barrier entry point, empowering peer connection. At the core of Stepped Care 2.0 is patient empowerment and choice. Our peer support groups empower members through shared experiences and mutual understanding and complementary clinical pathway. Seamless integration. Peer support acts as a vital link within care, bridging gaps between medical interventions and daily lived experience of chronic pain, and fosters community and holistic well-being. Excuse me for some of the poor spelling there. Those who not know about Power Over Pain Portal, Power Over Pain Portal is a national portal here that provides information, and it's a hub of resources for people living with pain. They recognize the stepped care model and the importance of it, and that peer support is a part of the stepped care model. So I think what the whole thing there is, how do we get our clinicians to realize peer support is a part of self-management and is part of the model for people living with pain. So People in Pain Network has been very successful. We moved to the East Coast. We started with 1 meeting. We now have 7 meetings. We have people join from all over Canada. We actually have people coming from other countries. But, why are we such a success? And like one thing I said, it's about collaboration, but it's also about personal wellness. We provide a comprehensive self-care strategies for individual participant growth. So not only that for our members, but for our facilitators. We provide structured group dynamics to foster mutual support, tailored facilitator training, which I shared about, and a balanced approach to inner groups for education and support, and the collaboration network. Like I said, it's very important to have this team and work with our organizations across Canada. So in Canada, I am very proud to share that we are making headway with peer support with our national partners, which would be Pain Canada, AQDC, which is a peer support organization and advocacy organization in Quebec, with Power Over Pain Portal and Pain BC. Pippin has been involved with these peer support organizations in expanding access to peer support across the country. As I said, even Corrections Canada have been involved and are offering, started in last year, offering their first pain peer support within there. We've been working with these partners to standardize the curriculum and training for pain-specific peer support facilitators. We want to ensure our groups are providing evidence-based programs and that our volunteer facilitators have skills and support to help others. So these are all important things for success. Our meeting options, we have many meeting options. People in Pain Network offer a range of meeting formats to accommodate individuals' needs and preferences. Virtual meetings provide flexibility and accessibility, allowing individuals to participate from anywhere, as long as they have internet connection. In-person meetings offer a sense of community and connection, fostering direct interaction and support among participants. And our website is there. You can easily look at what we offer. I'm thrilled to share we are offering a sit and chat. So we do have one session now a month where people can just come sit and chat. As I shared, there's evidence for peer support. Peer support is part of the STEP care model. Our federal documents are recognizing the value of peer support in pain self-management and pain care. So this is a really low-hanging fruit. It's possible to implement. So I don't know why there's not more and there's not funding for peer support. Happy to talk to anybody about this, but this is just kind of a table of what you need to get an organization going. And it doesn't take a lot of volunteer hours from your facilitators either. I think for anybody who's considering joining peer support, you need to ask questions. You need to think about what's right for you. Consider your needs. What are the most pressing needs and challenges related to your pain management? One thing about peer support, the education topics are chosen by the members. Consider your values. What values are most important to you in a support group setting? Consider your preferences. What kind of environment do you want? And ask questions. Are the facilitators trained? Are the education topic, is it evidence-based? You have the right to ask these questions. And I'm happy to answer any questions. There's my email. There's our website.
Oh, that's fabulous, Virginia. Thank you. Always
welcome.
Interesting and always informative and always giving us new ideas. I think it's amazing. I think what you guys have really hit upon there, I think, because obviously having peer support and that kind of, expert patient kind of support and peer group support from within pain programs and things like that has always been around. But I think one of the things we always find, certainly whenever we were trying to integrate it, is that thing of how do you provide ongoing training and support for people? Because actually the people who are living with pain, who are facilitating these groups, also have needs to be met. So it's really great to hear about the work that they get in terms of like debriefs and in terms of ongoing training and support to be able to talk about things, which is much more likely to make people keep on wanting to do it, because that seems to be the biggest barrier whenever we've ever had in the past, if we've tried to get people sort of running their own sort of peer support networks, is that thing of, yeah, but who's going to hold me, who's going to support me if it all starts to get a bit too much? So I think that can give lots of organizations around the world food for thought. And as you said, there does have to be some money involved in it, doesn't there? Because you've got to get that up and running. But I think if you can get a good background program on it there and the good training there, then once that initial investment is out, the ongoing costs seem to be a lot less.
And I agree. And I think the thing is people need to realize is we need to work together. You look at organizations like People in Pain Network, and we're working on no budgets, no money, 100% volunteerism. So the other organizations like Pain Canada have come together to help us to offer a very extensive training thing, like Pete said, there is teamwork, I mean, and even really Pippin has started off with a lot of Pete's work. The Pain Toolkit has always been our guide. So it's that collaboration. How can we share resources? How can we do stuff? I mean, a lot of these organizations run with big budgets. How can you support these small organizations? We brought our facilitators together, and it was one of our organizations in Newfoundland that would actually pay for the flight to bring the two facilitators from Newfoundland to Nova Scotia. We don't have that kind of money, but for them, for a couple of $1,000s, it's not that big of a deal, but they have to believe in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate too, is I'm now co-hosting Action on Pain podcast. And people, take a look at it. And it's about the Health Canada's action plan and about what we're doing in Canada for pain. And we will do some talks about peer support too. But we need to break down the silos and learn about what's going on out there and support each other in even the grassroots community organizations.
Because it is ultimately, in the end, it is that, where we're talking about trying to change policy and trying to change things at a government level and get that sort of collaboration going there. Ultimately, in terms of the people who are living with pain, whether that's in prisons, whether that's in elderly care communities, whether that's in young people, it's that, the power of that community, of individuals with shared experiences, with their own lived experiences, that, that's what people say really helps start to give people that hope, isn't it? If somebody else just like me can do that, then maybe I can do it, is often more powerful than any number of healthcare professionals saying, I think you can do it, but I don't have that same lived experience. Oh, so there's a question there of, are there any, does anybody know of any apps or digital tools for peer support? I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff in the UK. You've obviously got Pain Toolkit, you've obviously got Live Well with Pain and Flipping Pain. There are a lot of, but in terms of actual apps around peer support, I'm not sure, have Canada got any apps going? Are there any app developers out there doing things?
And then how would you do that? I mean, an app, I mean, then you're not connecting with a person. You're connecting, maybe I'm missing the question. I mean, we have virtual peer support.
Yeah.
Where you're connecting with, but if you have an app, wouldn't that be just more of a self-management app, which would be important too? So I'm not quite understanding the question.
No, it's
pain management.
Yeah. So it's just about apps or digital tools helping with persistent pain. But I mean, the digital tools for helping with persistent pain are all the ones that we know about. I think a digital tool for peer support is more tricky, isn't it? Because you say the thing about peer support is it's that that connection with other people, whether it's virtual. And obviously, we did at least embrace virtual, of all the horrible things that came out of the COVID pandemic. It really helped us all to realize that we could actually do stuff virtually where we hadn't really embraced that fully prior to that, had we?
And like Pete has here, we have the Pain Tool Academy where people connect, and that's important. It's funny because when COVID hit and we went with our virtual groups and we kind of got pushed into virtual, I was a little skeptical about it, about doing peer support virtual. But there are our busiest groups.
Yeah.
They are our busiest groups. We've had to put out more out there. People want to connect. People want to connect with other people. People want to learn. They want to see how people are doing things.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Virginia. That was really, really interesting. Really got the old brain cells going there. So
great. Thank you for having me.
So I will now hand over to our next presenter. And so we're very excited to have...
hang on. Well, sorry, you're so enthusiastic and so keen you forgot the most important part of the conference, which is right now, which is a pacing break.
Well, that's because I am not very good at pacing, so I do apologize. We'll have our 5-minute pacing break. Anybody that wants to go and get up, have a stretch, and then I will come back with the next stage. I'm just really enthusiastic, Dave.
Yep, I know. I'm not faulting that, but hey, I need to get up and move around.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Let's all take 5. We're about halfway through.
Welcome back, Grainne.
Thank you.
That was nice to get up and move around a bit.
Mm.
I don't want to jinx it by getting up and moving around whilst it's on in case something technical goes wrong, as it seems to work whilst I'm sat here and not moving. So not superstitious or anything, but yeah. Right, got my hair sorted now.
Are we? Let me know when we're good to go again.
Yeah, whenever you're ready now.
Okay. Lovely. So let's keep going then, now that we've all had a little bit of a stretch. I think just what I'd like to say is so far, first half of the conference has been met all our expectations. And what I love most about what we do here is this blend of really high level stuff in terms of what's happening nationally, internationally, on a sort of global level, policy level, everything else. And then we also get right down to equal value placed on the sort of lived experience of individuals, which is going to come on a bit further on in the conference, but also then what individual clinicians are doing just on that one-to-one basis with clients, which is where we're going to come on in a little bit with Leanne as well, as we did with Dershee at the start. So it's just a lovely mix of this, again, evidence of this true collaboration that we want to try and get here. So in light of that, the next person that we have is we've got representing the British Pain Society, we've got Professor Sam Ahmedzai, who is a retired palliative care consultant, and he's been a long-time member of the BPS, and he currently works with the expert patient and carer group within the BPS. He's shaping the work that goes on there. So I'm going to hand over now to him to tell us all about what he's doing there.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me to take part in this meeting. It's really been very stimulating already. And like Virginia, who's on the east coast of Canada, I've been up since small hours. I'm on my third cup of coffee, so I really appreciated that pacing break. Thank you very much. So let me share my screen. Can you see? Oh, can you see that? Oh.
Yes, you just need to go into presenter mode. Yeah. We'll do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah, that's all good.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it's so difficult with Zoom nowadays when you're using two screens. You don't know. I don't know. I hope you can see me and hear me. So, thank you for inviting me to speak about on behalf of the British Pain Society. We just heard from Patrice talking about EFIC, which is the big European federation. We are one of the chapters of the IASP, which is a member of EFIC. So I was asked to give a spotlight on the British Pain Society. That's the best I could do with the graphics I got down from the internet. So I'm Sam Ahmedzai. I'm a retired professor of palliative medicine. I've been working with the British Pain Society for 20 odd years. My background is mainly in cancer-related pain, but also other forms of chronic pain. So, in introduction, the British Pain Society is a multidisciplinary voice in pain care. It's an old organization founded in 1967, one of the world's longest standing multidisciplinary pain societies. And here's Professor Roger Naggs, who's the current president of the BPS, and he's a pharmacist. We have medics, nurses, physiotherapists, psychologists, and pharmacists as well. We are a member of EFIC and IASP. We're the UK's largest multidisciplinary organisation dedicated to improving pain care. And our members come from all different disciplines, as I've just explained, but also researchers. And I'll be happy to share with you, we have a committee of people with lived or living experience. I said that for Pete because I know that he says, well, yes, he lived it, but he's still living it as well. We all united by a shared commitment to improving life for people living with pain. Our motto is together we will do more for pain, and we have an interdisciplinary partnership between the researchers, health and social care professionals, and people experiencing pain to promote the safest and most effective pain management throughout the UK. And we do that through promoting best care, collaborative working, making pain visible. We already heard that from Patrice. And stimulating funding research and applying research to individualized care, trying to reach high standards of professional excellence and looking at the whole diversity of pain in our rich society. Lots of ways that we do this. We have an annual scientific meeting, we have a journal, the British Journal of Pain, and we have another kind of newsletter with pain news. And we also run webinars and we publish guidelines, things like managing pain after surgery. But ultimately, what we're about is giving patients and their caregivers a voice on all our activities. And as it says here, I want to be heard. Our patients want to be heard. And we're working closely from the professional side with the patients and caregivers as well, people who are caring for people with chronic pain, allowing them to be heard. So what do? We champion the voices and collaborate with people living with pain, and lots of different ways that we do that here. I'm going to focus on a few of these. One is the Expert Patient and Carer Committee, EPCC. We like to pronounce it EPIC, because it's an EPIC organization. Also, we do that through special interest groups. I'll say something about that. And then we also run patient surveys as well. So I'll mention that too. So we have lots of committees, like any big organization: education, communications, a scientific program committee, which organizes our conferences, and a science and research committee. But what I'm very proud of is that we have the Expert Patient and Carer Committee, EPIC, and this represents people with the living experience, day-by-day experience throughout the work of the BPS. So this is Tim Atkinson, who is the Vice Chair of the Expert Pain and Carer Committee, and he says pain self-management techniques not only provide a safe and effective alternative to analgesics, but they give patients agency in the matter of their own pain management. There are few things more likely to affect the experience of chronic pain than feeling that you have some, even if only a little, control. Well, I like to think a lot of control as well. Now, I mentioned surveys. EFIC, or its predecessor, the Patient Voice Committee, has run a series of surveys, national surveys, and this was one we did in 2022, a large survey, 826 responders, and it was conducted through social media, our website, and emails as well. And this is one of the questions, many of the questions we asked, and this was about self-management. And question was, have you been taught ways to self-manage your pain by a health professional? And very few people, well, a third said yes. Some said partly. The flip side of that is question, have you learnt self-management skills yourself without a health professional? And 70% said yes, more than 70%. So most people know about self-management, but they're having to find out for themselves. And then thanks to organize meetings like this, we hope more people will find out about the benefits of self-management. I mentioned special interest groups. This is a quote from the Pain Management Program Special Interest Group, PMP. The nature of a pain management program approach means that self-management is often a key aspect of discussions within our events. And they mention a few events: neurodiversity in pain, increased complexity of pain event, but focus on this one, the power of lived experience event, which the PMPC ran. And the quote here is, inspirational speakers demonstrated how they promote first-hand experience of pain management as an ongoing self-management approach beyond attending a program to reinforce the messages provided by professionals delivering the PMPs. Now, another thing that we do is we're also publicising the work of the BPS through national media. And I don't know if you know, but we have a very important newspaper in the UK called The Guardian, and it publishes several times a year important information on healthcare. And in 2024, we had an article there called Chronic Pain Relief Requires a Personalised Approach. And look, we had a quote there from the former vice chair of our patient committee, Louise Treverne, who we already saw in a little video earlier on. And she said, I lived with unexplained pain for years, leading to high-dose opioid prescriptions. I transformed my life by tapering off opioids and managing my pain through activity, diet, and sleep. And she's a living example of how that works. And then we have another quote here, and it's from somebody called Pete Moore. I wonder if I've heard that name before somewhere. BPS honorary member Pete Moore moved from relying on medicines to self-management after attending a pain management program in 1996. Since then, he's not needed to take pain medicines. And he says, empower patients to understand their pain and then take up self-management strategies. And here we are doing that, talking about that right now. Thank you, Pete. This year, we had another publication. We actually had two publications in the Guardian newspaper. One earlier one was called Pain Management in the UK's Aging Population. And the latest one was called Understanding the Patient with Chronic Pain. And I should say, for each of these publications, we always have a patient contributor. So for this last one, we had Professor Kirsty Bannister, who's a pain neuroscientist. We had Professor Katie Vincent, who's a pain specialist, talking about gender disparity. But we also had Amira Ashuri, who's a member of the EPIC, who shared her view as well about how BPS is co-producing care patients along with professionals. And she said, it's not just about managing symptoms, it's about being heard and supported to thrive. And I love that phrase. It's not living with pain, it's thriving. How can you thrive with your chronic pain? Thank you very much.
Sorry, thank you, Sam. That was brilliant. I'm just going to get my camera back on.
How do I stop sharing? Am I still sharing?
You're still sharing at the moment.
How do I? Let me just shut that down.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, it's gone. Oh,
Yeah.
if not, you're just sharing your own face, and that's fine.
So, oh, right, okay.
I just need my camera back on again, Dev.
I thought I'd sent the request. Sorry.
No.
Okay.
Lovely. That's brilliant. Thank you. It's really great to hear what, again, sort of similar to with Patrice, it's really great to hear what's happening at those national organizational levels, you know, and it does take time for things to embed and things to change, but it does feel like it's getting much more consistent now than, you know. I mean, I joined the British Pain Society probably about 25 years ago myself, and used to go along to the pain management program, SIGs, and things like that. And there's always lots of good stuff, but it's really good to hear that there's, you know, consistent movement forward. I suppose the trick, certainly for us in the UK, is going to be how we translate that stuff into the practical community level, you know, pain setting with patients, you know, getting those kind of peer support network things up and going, and getting, you know, getting that happening on the street and getting it supported at that level. But these things do take time to go there. I mean, obviously we've got, and Pete will be mentioning it in his talk, there's the Pain Toolkit Academy, which does a lot of stuff around helping people to get supported self-management information. And obviously we've got Live Well with Pain and Flipping Pain. So I think in this country, we are fortunate and blessed in a way to have, you know, compared to maybe other countries around the world, a lot of resources available. It's just getting them to access that. And it is, you know, you could say there's a little disheartening that, you know, there's at least 30% of people in that survey weren't getting any kind of self-management advice or guidance from the healthcare clinicians. So we've still got obviously some work to do to help healthcare clinicians maybe feel empowered to talk more about self-management. But we're definitely making inroads into that. So it's always really good to know what we can access as people with pain or healthcare professionals and what's out there. So thank you for sharing all of those resources with us.
Thank you. I think we're well on the way.
Yeah, I think there's no going back from it now. I don't think we'll ever regress back to where we were before. I think the biomedical model is certainly, you know, no longer, you know, really the way to go, and everybody is on the same page at least. So thank you. So I'm going to hand over now to the gentleman himself, who really fundamentally needs very little in the way of actual introduction, because I think we all of us know very well who Pete is. So Pete and I have been friends now, I like to think, for a good 10, 12 years since we first really came in contact with each other. I've been aware of them before that, but we got Pete up to do one of his healthcare pain toolkit workshops back in the day with our clinicians in Norwich, and we've basically been collaborating on things ever since. So I'm going to hand over to Pete now to tell us a bit more about the work that he's doing and the direction that he's taking now as he moves forward. So over to you, Pete.
Well, good morning, everyone, and hey, what a fantastic conference this is turning out to be. And thanks everybody for registering, etc. Thanks for the plugs. I wasn't ready for that sort of stuff. Hey, listen, I'm covering for Dr. Sue, who sadly had to pull out at the last moment. I received a message from her earlier this morning that her auntie was taken to A&E. And I'm not sure what happened, but she was having to wait for a bed, etc. So I'm at the last moment, I coupled these slides together about 5 o'clock this morning. So I hope they work for you. And I wanted to just share with some ideas, the things, the work I've been doing over the years. Whatever, you know, anyway, let me just crack on this. You'll see what I mean anyway. So thing today is, let's get my little mouse going here, is changing the conversation. Now for me that's really important because back in the day when I was struggling with my back pain, etc., like, you know, self-management, in fact the word self-management actually wasn't around. It was called pain management, or pain, it's self-care, etc. So it's a fairly new term that we've all had to learn, etc. I think it came over from the States. But it's all about changing the conversation and about how we can be more inclusive, how healthcare professionals and people with pain, now we can all work together a little bit more. So let me share some ideas with you, a little bit of a background now. I won't go into it too much. I think Grainne, you give us a good overview or whatnot. But like most people with pain, really, I struggled. I was fantastic. I had A levels, or I was running up to having a university degree in being a doctor's shopper, a therapy shopper. Spent about £8,000, I think, back then. That was in the early 90s. But as Grainne said, I got myself on a pain management program in 96, and I haven't really looked back. And and since then I've been doing all this sort of stuff, really. So I've been gradually getting involved more with pain self-management, and not just here in the UK, but worldwide as well. And on the right hand side there, you can see like what I'm a member of, etc., and a trainer I've had over the years. So let's crack on. So listen, watch this lot. This is a mind-blowing number, isn't it? 28 million people living in the UK with pain. I think the International Association for the Study of Pain, I think they're quoting that 1 in 5 people around the world now are living with persistent pain. And but I pulled this quote in red there off of the International Association for the Study of Pain. And they say successfully managing chronic pain requires education and self-mastery of key skills. Self-management is the first rung in the ladder in pain care, followed by primary care with specialty care and pain centres most appropriately used in for the most complex. I couldn't agree any more with that, really, because pain self-management needs to be taught in the med schools. I'm going to go into that a little bit later on as well. Little quote there that I pulled, I've been using over the years, that people with pain, in fact, people with long-term conditions, they on average will only see a healthcare professional for 4 hours in any year. This is a quote I got from the Department of Health years ago. And I don't think it's really changed, going by what amount of emails I get from people. And so we only see, say, a healthcare professional for 4 hours in any year. So what are we doing for the other 8,756 hours? Yeah, we've got to be self-managing, etc. So this is where, these are what I call the crazy numbers, and this is where we need to, the conversations need to be changing, etc. So for a lot of people with pain, after you've had, they say after you've had pain for longer than 3 months, pain has actually become just the tip of the iceberg, because like an iceberg, most of the iceberg is underneath the water. So these other problems kick in. And what I've learned over the years is that to wind the pain down, we need to not so much keep tackling the pain all the time, but tackle these problems, these common problems that people have who are living with pain. So the common ones people tell me are sleep problems, loneliness, money worries, medication side effects, feeling low, stressed out, relationship problems. And so what I've tried to do over the years, in conferences and workshops, etc., is that if we deal with that stuff, all the stuff that bothers us underneath the waterline, if we deal with that stuff, that will actually wind the pain down a little bit. It did for me back in the day as well, when I was on the pain management program, which I'll talk a little bit about later on. So it's a bit, I call it a little bit reverse thinking, but it does work. It does work, but we need to get the healthcare professionals tuned up so that they're more in tune with what to do about it, etc. Keeping people in the driving seat is the key. You'll hear me, people have heard me talk over the years, they probably, I keep talking about driving and whatnot. It's only because I used to be a driving instructor back then, back in the late 70s and early 80s, etc. But it's about keeping us in the driving seat. But what happens is the medical model of care that healthcare professionals are trained in via the medical schools, they take us out. What it is, they don't, because they're not taught self-management skills, the healthcare professionals. So when what their medical model does, it takes us out of the driving seat and puts us in. Sorry, takes out the driving seat, puts us in the passenger seat. And like if those of you who drive or learn to drive, you learn nothing in the passenger seat, but you learn all your learning how to drive in the driving seat. I think Dave's going to show a similar slide later on, but these are the things I've come up with. Over the last, I don't know, 50 or 20 years, I guess, I've been asking other self-managers around the planet, what are the key pain self-management skills that they use to support them to keep upright, get them, so they have a really good, productive life. And these ones kept coming up all the time. So it's what I've really cobbled them together now. So the key skills that us self-managers use are setting goals and action planning. I always remember when I worked on the expert patients program, the NHS expert patients program, there's a line in one of the books there. It said, if you don't know where you're going, it's unlikely you're going to get there. And I like that because it is, we just sort of mingle around, etc. But by setting goals and action planning how we're going to achieve those goals, we'll help us start to move on. Pacing our daily activities is vital. We're overdoers, we're overthinkers, but when we pace our daily activities, we can actually do more throughout the day without actually increasing our pain or our symptoms. I'll talk a lot more about that in the academy if you want to come and join that. Problem solving. Hey, listen, everybody gets problems, but listen, when we're living with pain, it seems when we get a problem, it seems to magnify it somewhat. So learning about simple problem solving will help us keep us upright, etc. Meaningful movement. It used to be called keeping active, stretching, exercising, but a few years ago, and I like it. I'm digging it. I love that phrase now because what I like about meaningful movement is that us people with pain, we choose the movement we enjoy doing to wind the, to keep active, to keep us active, and in turn wind the pain down. And so back in the day, it was just called stretching exercise, and I think that put a lot of people off because they thought, "Oh my God, I've got to join the gym. Where's my lycra?" and stuff like that. But meaningful movement. So what do I do meaningful movement wise? I do still learning yoga. Do quite a bit of walking, only local sort of stuff, and also in recent years started doing my old qigong again, which is like a form of tai chi. I really like that. So what my average day really is, I get up in the morning quite early. I do my yoga, then I go down the gym. I like going down the gym because it's social for me. I live on my own, so it's an opportunity to meet other people. But also I can do the weights, etc. And for me, meaningful movement is really vital for me these days because since 2016, I've diagnosed with prostate cancer. By the way, I want to give Sam a bit of a shout out because Sam really helped me back in the early days. He still helps me these days, actually. But for me, keeping active and stretching, exercising, and doing meaningful movement is vital because it keeps the cancer away. Like it keeps the I know the cancer is. I'm not sure we know, but cancer wants to search around your body for other places to live like, but when I'm stretching, exercising, and keeping active, it keeps it at bay. It's sort of I'm not let me renting me body out for it, like, and knowing what to do if something goes wrong. And because we're overdoers, we're overthinkers, the chances of us having a setback, where we've overdone, when we need to have a setback plan. So when we've overdone it, perhaps by accident or something like that, then we need to have a plan. So what do you do? Usually it's cut all your activities down by half and then increase a pace that suits you. So when how do people learn? Because this is one of the slides I use with healthcare professionals, because what they tend to do, they all think we're readers, and I'm not a reader. So you need to ask yourself, well, do I learn from watching, reading, listening, practice, or perhaps a combination of the above. And it's important that we inform the healthcare professional that we see, because it's important for them to actually have the not the products, the like the books or audios or videos at hand, so that they can pass them on to us. Like, you know, what I found asking people over the years, how do they learn, those living with pain, it's and long-term conditions, it seems to be we're watchers. Like we get most of our information watching things like videos. That's why when you go onto the Pain Toolkit site and look at the Vimeo link that we got on there, or YouTube, there's loads of videos on there, etc. Don't forget to tell tell your healthcare professional before you give them that leaflet, which you know what we do with the leaflets. Yeah, we like, yeah, okay, doctor, thanks very much for the leaflet. You know, it goes up your smoke, doesn't it? I always remember when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, they told me, give me a book like it was, I don't know, probably about half-inch thick, from the Royal College of somewhere. It was great. It helped me like my burner. It was all medical anyway. I didn't understand any of it. I always think keep it simple, keep the messages simple. So this is a cycle that people seem to identify with, and what we get stuck in really. So at the top there, you get your pain condition, then we become less active. And when I show this to people, they go, "Oh my God, it's like looking in the mirror." And then I ask them these sort of 3 questions there on the side, which they always identify with. Do you do more on good days, less on bad days? Are you an overachiever? Are you a people pleaser? Do you have a problem saying no to people? They look at me and say, "How the hell do you know that?" It just seems to be our makeup, like, those of us who live with pain. And the thing is breaking out of that cycle. So what I put together a few years after I come up with the pain cycle was this one called the How Am I Today cycle. And it's dead opposite to the pain cycle, because it gives us an opportunity to sort of track our progress really, and we can show our healthcare worker who we're working with how well we're doing and what help and need, and what help and support we need. By the way, I know I haven't asked. I know someone else asked about the slides, but if you need any of these ones like the How Am I Today, just drop me a line via the website, and I'll be only too pleased to send it over to you. Okay, yeah, okay. It's all the instructions there anyway. I won't go into it too much. So this is the Pain Academy. So why did we start the Pain Academy? As I said earlier on, healthcare professionals, there's this big chasm. Okay, so healthcare workers are going to their respective medical schools, and then they come out and they don't know. They've been taught all the stuff and books and whatnot, but they don't. They say no one from the academy, no one from their medical schools have actually talked to them about self-management. The only answer to that is perhaps the people at the medical schools can't teach what they don't know. It's just my personal opinion. Hopefully they do know. But so what we did about a year or two ago, myself and Katie Napson, who's a physio colleague, also I think Grainne was involved as well. She was put some videos in there about medication and stuff like that, and obviously Dave, who you're going to see later on, put the academy together. The first course we did was for healthcare professionals, but because we thought we need to, I don't know what we thought we need to get them tuned in, get them tuned up so they're more comfortable talking about self-management. And the good thing about their course, really, the course that they do is the information they get, they can use straight away. So it's not something you've got to practice on. They're just easy to learn practical information. But earlier this year, I think it's February from memory, we launched a patient one as well, which is very similar to the healthcare professional one. So now we've got one for healthcare professionals and one for people living with pain. And guess what? there's like a bit of a marriage there, like, so everybody's singing from the same hymn sheet, as they say. So that's become a great success, and what we're aiming to do is expand on the courses that we put on there. In the well, I'll tell you, well, I've been only announced the early part of this week, but I'm also going to be moving into supporting people with long-term conditions, and also people living with cancer, because from what I'm seeing, I think there's a lot of information out there about cancer management and what stuff like that, but I don't really see a lot about self-management. So I'm not. Don't worry, you haven't got rid of me yet in the pain world. But I'm going to be moving into helping people with long-term conditions, but also people living with cancer. So we'll include a course on that. This is the course. It's by the way, it's non-for-profit, so the monies that we make goes back into the academy. As you can see, they're super. I don't like the word cheap, but it's affordable. So the patient one is £15 for a whole course. I think Dave will tell you later on, or hopefully he'll tell me that how many hours that is. I think they're both about 6 or 7 hours long. And there's our community here that we're building. So it's an opportunity to join that and to swap ideas. Ideally, you want to do the course first, then you can join your community, and then where we post lots of information, etc. The healthcare professional one is again super affordable, only £90, etc. Our next pain support self-management conference is on the 21st of February next year. That's the worldwide one, and I co-deliver that with a buddy of mine called Keith Meldrum. He's over there in British Columbia, so we both facilitate that one. Hey, listen, you're not gonna, if you're living in Europe, you're not gonna like the time when it starts, because it begins at 2 o'clock in the morning. But as usual, all the conferences that we do, they're all recorded, and everybody that registers will get a copy of the video, and also an audio version as well. As you can see, we've got some great speakers this year coming up, and got Joe I think it's Joe's been mentioned already today. Got Professor Lorimer, Jim, good. These are all good dudes, like, these are all self-managers, these last three. Katie's going to tell you a fantastic story about her journey that she did, where she set goals and action plans, where she went from Australia and toured around America for a little bit. So a little bit of a quote there from their one last year. So, has anybody got any questions that they would like to ask? Oh, look, can I just, if you want to get hold of me at any time on social media, there's the email address, and these are all the ones that I'm not so much on Twitter now, because it's gone, as you know, it's gone a bit bonkers, isn't it, a little bit, but I'm on all these other ones. So, if I stop sharing, then if there's any questions anybody wants to ask.
I can answer your question, Pete. Thank you so much for that. And it's terrible. I stole a slide off you, and then you used the same slide in your talk. It's outrageous. Sorry, borrowed, not stole. So the length of the course, if you just go through and don't do the additional content that we've linked to, because we link to a lot of third-party resources all around the world. We're not saying that we know everything, so stuff's linked all the way around the world. If you just do the core stuff, it's about a day's work. But it's self-paced, and there's a quiz at the end of each section, and hopefully very shortly the professional one will be accredited, so that any professional that does it will get CPD points as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Brilliant. And I'd just like to say it is, I mean, I was very honoured to be asked to collaborate, even in a small part, as part of being part of that academy. And we've started now, certainly in our pain service, we are sort of actively promoting the Toolkit Academy for patients. It is it is always tricky to know, because obviously a lot of people living with chronic pain don't have huge amounts of money. You know, they're often not able to work. But equally, you know, these kind of resources, as Virginia touched on before, you know, people like yourself, Pete, and Dave, and others, and give a lot of their time, and it isn't funded by anybody, so they can't be offered for completely free. But at £15, it really is very affordable, you know, for anybody living with pain. You know, that is really these days the price of 2 or 3 cups of coffee out at a Costa or a Starbucks, isn't it? And for that, they get this access to these fabulous resources that can help to support them, and then an opportunity to join that Toolkit community, which is kind of getting that sort of peer support thing as well. So it's an exciting direction, you know, for the Pain Toolkit to take. You keep it fresh all the time, Pete, never staying still, never staying static. And I know that the work you're going to go on and do in terms of other long-term conditions and cancer, post-cancer care and things like that, and surviving cancer is going to be equally as valuable. So I'd like to really take the opportunity as a healthcare professional to thank you for all the groundbreaking work that you've done over the last 25 years.
Don't worry about all that. Don't worry about all that.
It's important though, because, you know, without those voices of you all, you know, not just you, but certainly you over here, without those voices of advocacy, of kind of standing up and sort of shouting at us healthcare professionals and saying, hold on a minute, what about us? Or in the case of you, saying, what does that word mean? I don't know what that word means. Can you explain it a bit better? But without people getting us to keep it real and getting us to think about how we're talking about things, we wouldn't be progressing the way we are. So, you know, and that takes a lot of guts and a lot of initiative to be the person standing out. So
can I ask you a question? Grainne, can I ask you? I think we're still early, aren't we? Something like that, maybe a bit early.
Yeah.
Because you're doing some of the pain medication stuff. Because a lot of the emails that I get from people, I can't actually talk to them about medications or treatments for legal reasons. But I know you're quite experienced, like with this cancer medication business. So have we got times for you to sort of do a little chat about that?
About pain medication? I don't have any experience on cancer medications. I wouldn't like to.
No. Just if you. I know you did. I know that's why we had you on the academy, like because a lot of people take this pain medication, they're stuck on it. But they want to get off of it, but they don't know how to get off of it. Like,
absolutely. You know? So you're quite right. A lot of I work although I'm a physiotherapist, I'm a non-medical prescriber, and I do work in a pain clinic. I assess new patients coming in, and I would say in the entire time that I've been a non-medical prescriber, I've never actually written a prescription, because the vast majority of what I do is de-prescribing and reducing medications, because what I know from all of the work I've done as a physio and in pain programs and things like that over the years is that ultimately people find themselves stuck in a lot of medications, because as we've established from other people, they go to healthcare professionals, they want to help, they want to try and help them get rid of their pain, but the first line of that is often starting on medications and then escalating those medications up. And actually what we understand is that actually for chronic pain, it's such a small part of that long-term management strategy. Medications often have lots of side effects. They can have side effects on the patient's well-being, on their physical, psychological well-being. They can cause weight gain. They can cause low mood. They can have significant side effects. And actually, ultimately, people are often still in significant pain. And while there are a very few people for whom pain medications can provide a meaningful quality of life input, and we're never saying you mustn't be on anything, it's about striking that balance. And lots of healthcare professionals, especially physios and things like that, are a bit reluctant and wary of talking to people about medications. If they aren't a prescriber, they feel that perhaps it's not their job. But actually there is a role for everybody to ask some simple questions to people living with pain who are on pain medications, which are to sort of say, do you feel they help? You're taking all of these things, you're taking the 3 or 4 different pain medications. Do they really help your pain? Are they making a difference? And also, do you get any side effects? And do you want to be taking less? You know, would you like this to change? Because even if you can't, as a healthcare professional, make that change for them, you can help to engage them to start a question with somebody. Often when people come to me in a pain clinic, the message that I've been getting is that, well, we don't want to do anything with your pain medication until you've gone to the pain clinic. And then that's when we can start that conversation about instantly sort of going, what are you on? Are they helping? Are you aware of these potential side effects that you're experiencing? And it's really helpful to be able to do that. So that's why it was really good to be able to get a little bit onto the academy, where there's a little sort of 5-minute section on useful questions that healthcare professionals can ask people with pain, but also some tips for people with pain, what they can say if they want to take more control and more ownership, and how they can approach that conversation with their healthcare professional. And Dave is a very good example of that, aren't you, Dave?
Yep, I turned my camera on because I wanted to say that, yeah, in that academy there is actually a video where you'll have the pleasure of Grainne interviewing me about my journey weaning off of pain medications. And that was very much driven by me rather than driven by someone like Grainne. So, you know, if there are people out there, medical professionals, that can help reduce the medication and help people realize that not all taking more medication doesn't always mean you're going to be in a better state, I think we'll all be in a much better place.
Yeah. One of the things that surprise people most when I meet them in a pain clinic, I tell them that of all the people we see, probably about 30 to 40% of people end up not taking any pain medications at all, but not because their pain has got better.
Yeah.
There is a real sort of feeling that if you're in pain, you should be taking pain medications somehow, because otherwise, how would you prove you're in pain? So there's lots to unpick and unpack around it. And there's lots of useful information out there on both on the British Pain Society website as well, and on Live Well with Pain and Pain Toolkit and Flipping Pain, around being able to have conversations around reducing medications. And there's been lots of good work done in guideline changes over the last sort of 15, 20 years, but it's a work in progress, but we're definitely making a difference with it. So thanks for asking about that, Pete. We're going to go on into now our next presenter. Oh, no, we're not. We're not going on into our next presenter. I've gotten overexcited again, and we're having another pacing break. I do apologise. I'm overexcited this time because our next presenter is also from Northern Ireland. So Leanne and I will be talking far too quickly, and nobody will be able to understand us, because that's normally what happens when you get two people from Northern Ireland together. But we'll go off now for our quick 5-minute pacing break, and then we'll see you all back.
Right. Oh, let's see where Grainne's got to. Hey, Leanne. Right, Grainne, over to you.
Oh, fantastic. So I'm really pleased to announce that the next speaker is Leanne Clark from Northern Ireland. Leanne's actually from Carrickfergus in Northern Ireland, in Antrim, which is the same place that I hail from. And we had been friends on Twitter as physios for a number of years and had commented and been involved in discussions with Pete for a long time, and we eventually met up and then discovered, as is the way in Northern Ireland, that there was a very modest 2 degrees of separation or 1 degree of separation between us, as Leanne had actually been to school with my sister. That's pretty much what Northern Ireland is like in a nutshell. But anyway, Leanne does some amazing work in Northern Ireland on the ground level with patients, looking at supporting self-management and rehabilitation for older adults who are often discharged home from hospital and perhaps there's limited access to community care. So it's about pain, but more about their confidence in regaining movement and activities. And Leanne's going to tell you all about it, and I'm really excited to hear about it. So I'll hand you over.
Thanks very much, Grainne. Thank you, Pete and Dave and Grainne, for the invitation to speak. It's been a great morning so far. And Pete, I'd just like to extend Grainne's thanks to all your work with the Pain Toolkit. It's been invaluable to me throughout my career as a physio. So thank you, and look forward to continuing to develop and share your work. Yeah, so today I'm going to present sort of my personal insights into changing the conversation around rehabilitation for older adults, and how I use movement and sport to support older people manage frailty. So I'm a physio. I've worked in the NHS across Scotland, England, and Northern Ireland.
Just to jump in, Leanne, your slides have stopped sharing. They were sharing and they've now stopped. I don't know what happened, but that wasn't me, just in case anyone's worrying.
Let me try again.
Thank you.
Did you see it originally?
I did indeed, yes.
Right, okay. Let me go and see.
It's not a good conference if we don't get at least one.
Perfect. There we go.
We have one of the last. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I've lost my train. So I'm going to just share my insights into how I use movement and sport to support older people manage signs or frailty. So I'm a physio over 20 years, worked across the health service in Northern Ireland, Scotland and England. I've worked in elite sport, I've worked in private practice. I'd consider myself a specialist generalist. I've done a bit of everything, but certainly 16 years of my career was spent treating people after life-changing major trauma. So there was a lot of hands-on, a lot of manual therapy, but certainly, these people are going to have pain for the rest of their lives. So I was involved in that really early education piece around self-management and finding a way that they were going to live with how their lives had changed. Left the health service for a few years, worked in private practice and worked in family business, and then returned in the middle of the pandemic to a regional rehab unit here in Northern Ireland, where I spent some time as the allied health professional lead, and were involved in influencing a rehab strategy for Northern Ireland. I left that role, that unit was closed, and I moved out of that role, and now I work for myself, and I visit people at home. I engage in fun activities, and I enable people to become more active for their health. So that's across all ages, all different medical conditions. I love golf, and only recently I've been playing golf for about 4 years, and there are so many benefits that golf brings to me, and that lots of research proves that golf is good for us, and that I would use and integrate into a lot of the sessions that I would plan with people that I see at home. So what do we need to know to change the conversation? So this concept of lifespan versus health span, I'm going to look at just some facts around frailty and statistics around loneliness and social isolation, around rehabilitation, which is self-management, movement is medicine, and why. And again, Pete, you alluded to that mindful movement and meaningful movement, which is something I've talked about for a long, long time. And this kind of health by stealth, where you can kind of get people moving for benefits to their health, and they're not really aware that you're intervening as a health professional. And what you can do, or points and tips that you can do maybe for the older people in your lives, and how you can sort of help them manage their frailty. So just statistics. So this is obviously UK stats. Sorry about that. This is the Office of National Statistics. So this is the success of modern medicine. So in 1972, there was 13% of the UK population were over 65. By 2022, 19% of the UK population are over 65. And by 2072, there's going to be 27% of our population are over 65. So modern medicine, we know people are living longer, but they're living with long-term medical conditions. And we need to make sure that people continue to age well. And it's projected by 2040 that 1 in 7 people will be over 75. So it's this concept of lifespan versus health span. So our lifespan is life expectancy, so how many years a person lives, whereas our health span is how many years a person lives in good health, free or relatively free from chronic disease and disability. So if you had two scenarios, you had a 90-year-old, but the last 20 years are marked with aches, pains and limitations. You're unable to do the things you love and your quality of life is compromised. Or you can be a 90-year-old who's healthy and active throughout and enjoying life to the fullest. How would you like to see out your days? And I suppose that's where it's that self-management conversation. You know, there's a lot of information being pushed. I'm in my 40s, and there's a lot of information now being pushed about me protecting my life so that I can run after my grandchildren, look after my grandchildren, protect myself as I age, reduce my risk of fractures. Whereas I don't think there's enough being done around are already people maybe in that 65 and above bracket as to what they can do to continue to maintain their health. So again, Pete alluded to this, 43% of adults in the UK live with a degree of chronic pain, and over 75, there's 62% report chronic pain. So we know there are some mechanisms for actually aging that leads to sensitivity of the nervous system, which actually means that we can have pain without actually having a reason for it. So that goes back to the primary persistent pain. And we know that 2/3 of all adults over 74 live with at least 2 long-term chronic conditions, and some of those are up to 8 or 9 conditions. So it's predicted that chronic pain as a leading condition of 2019 will impact on the healthcare mortality, and we'll see a growth of 32% as our population continues to age. So this is Jane. She's looking forward to turning 80 in a few months and is looking forward to her family coming home from abroad to celebrate with her. She's widowed, having lost her husband during the pandemic. Her children and grandchildren live abroad, and she has a carer that visits her twice a day for 10 to 15 minutes to make sure she's dressed and has had a meal. She's a cleaner that comes fortnightly and has Meals on Wheels. She walks with a stick due to pain from an arthritic knee that she has from an old netball injury. And she's got a mild heart condition, but otherwise she's fitting well. She lives in a 2-bed bungalow with a steep driveway and 5 steps to get in and out. She knows she has to keep on the move, so twice daily she goes outside and walks to the end of the street and back, chatting to neighbours and bypassers on her way. As she has never driven, she gets a taxi once a week to her local library to a local knitting group. 4 weeks ago, she slipped in the kitchen on spilt milk, twisting her knee. She no longer goes for her daily walk or to the library, and the only person she now talks to face is the carer that calls for 20 minutes throughout the course of the day. This week she has spent a few days in her pyjamas staring at the TV. Her appetite hasn't been great, and she hasn't been finishing her meals. Today her knee pain is so severe she has decided to use a Zimmer frame she's found in the spare room which belonged to her late husband. So this is Jane. I see Jane every day. So I'm just going to explore frailty here. So physical frailty is a transitional stage between health and disability. It's really complex, and it's characterised by a decline in physical function, as well as a general loss of ability to cope with complex events and environmental stressors. It's related to reduced quality of life, increased risk of falls, unplanned hospital admissions, and to mortality. And if someone's living with frailty, it doesn't mean that they lack capacity or are incapable of living a full independent life. It just describes their overall resilience and how this can relate to them recovering from a health problem, so a simple infection or in Jean's case, a fall. It affects up to 10 people over 65 and up to 50% of our over 85-year-olds. And people over 65 account for up to 40% of all hospital admissions in the UK, but I presume that will be worldwide. So clinically, we would use, as a multidisciplinary team, the clinical frailty scale. This is relatively easily to do in clinical practice. And again, we would do this normally, dietitians would work on this, physios, obviously if there's been a medic. And you may find that somebody sits maybe between 1 or 2, but it gives a bit of an idea. And again, I mentioned it is sort of describes resilience and how well somebody will bounce back from an illness or an admission. So obviously it's this decrease in activity to then increase in dependence. So in a connected world, so the other thing with Jean is she's lonely. She doesn't have much interaction. And in a connected world, the irony is we are actually lonelier. As human beings, we're lonelier than ever. And 1 in 5 of adults in the UK are identified as being lonely. And people often assume this is an older person's symptom. But actually, there is high levels between the 16 and 24-year-olds as there is with the over 65s. And as we move into the over 85s, then it's sort of highest group. And loneliness has been linked to an acceleration of frailty and an increased risk of physical and mental illness across all ages. A top US doctor has issued an urgent warning on the epidemic of loneliness and social isolation in the US. So loneliness and isolation are bad for our health. We know that. 26%, your increased risk of death by 26% if you're lonely. And some experts have reported lack of social connection increases your risk of premature death, similar to what smoking 15 cigarettes a day will do. And then you have a 29% risk of heart disease and a 32% risk of stroke. So the World Health Organization and governments worldwide have launched efforts to investigate and address loneliness within our communities. So we'll go back to Jean. Again, loneliness and pain. So again, individuals who report feeling lonely were more than twice as likely to experience physical pain compared to those who aren't. And those who are lonely will report their pain as higher compared to those who are connected and have regular contact. So the question with Jean is, has her knee pain got worse due to her fall 4 weeks ago, the fact she's housebound and lonely, or because she hasn't been out walking and her muscles have got weak and she's got frailer? So it's multifactorial. It's a combination of all. So based on the clinical frailty scale, within a period of 3-4 weeks, Jean moved from 2, which is well. So she's no active disease, she's fit, often exercises and is active regularly, to moderately frail. So she needs help with outside activities and keeping in the house, and she often has problems with stairs and help with bathing and minimal assistance, potentially moving to severely frail. So this in turn increases her risk of hospital admission, mortality, and all within a matter of weeks. So that birthday party that she's looking forward to in a few weeks with her family is potentially going to look very different. And as a female, she's twice as likely to fall than a man and 3 times more likely to fracture her hip. And if she does fracture her hip, there's a 33% chance she'll die within a year. That all is very depressing, and we have to change the narrative and the conversation. Frailty is reversible. It's not an inevitable aspect of aging, which for so many people, they think, oh, it's just we're getting older, and that's just a sign and symptom of being frail, of getting older. Sorry, I've just lost my notes page here. Just bear with me a wee second. So the So the onset or progression of frailty can be slowed down by that biopsychosocial approach, that multidisciplinary approach, putting into place personalised and preventative measures that address a person's range of needs in a timely way. And loneliness and related pain are also addressed in these ways. So I would like to think that's what I do. So rehabilitation is self-management. So the World Health Organization defined it as a set of interventions to optimize function and reduce disability in individuals with health conditions and how they interact with their environment. So it goes on to say that working with the person and their family, and this is the really important bit, that you're working with the people around to address the underlying health conditions, their symptoms, modifying the environment and educating to strengthen self-management and adapting tasks so that they can be performed as independently as possible. So taking time to listen and to build trust. So again, all the speakers have touched on this morning. And it's just about compassionate listening. Do you know, I think as physios, we sometimes ramstram in with our piece of paperwork that we have to fill in, and we bombard people with questions and, you know, have you got this? Have you got that? What's this? What's that? And, you know, they've done that 1,000 times in their life. So this is just about going in and listening, spending time in somebody's home. There's something really special about being invited into somebody's home and to sit and to spend time listening to their story. I would like to think it's a holistic personal need. So I sort of cover all aspects. So I cover, you know, I'll ask them about personal goals. I'll ask them about their previous medical conditions. I'll ask about family support. And just over sessions, they will open up maybe a little bit more, maybe about worries or family dynamics or financial and different things. I'll do obviously the physical outcome measures. So look at like timed up and go, sit to stand, berg balance, whatever sort of outcome measures I feel are appropriate for the person. I'll always look at grip strength, because again, that's correlated with frailty and with falls risk. So if we can get an improvement in somebody's grip strength, then we know we're making good improvements to preventing to reversing their frailty. And I'll always look at a quality of life outcome as well. And then we look at a personalised plan, including short and longer term goals. I don't routinely focus on pain. So I'll obviously ask you, tell me what you've done to yourself. I want to know injuries. I'll have my body chart and I'll want to know, okay, you had a broken wrist or you had a rugby injury or a dislocated shoulder, or because again, chances are as now they're older, I think it's safe to assume that they're going to have some degree of discomfort from that injury or surgery or whatever they've had. I will ask about it if there's been a recent flare up, then obviously it'll be on need, but it's not something I focus on. I focus more on their goals and you know, what can we do today? And then definitely that education and empowerment and finding fun activities. You know, one of the questions I'll ask is, when was the last time you had fun? What do you do for fun? And often people can't tell me, which I just think is really sad. So this is what makes us as human beings tick. So this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So this is a theory model. It gives us insight into human behavior and motivation. And at each level, they would say that when someone is satisfied, they can then move up through the hierarchy. So suggests people strive to meet the 5 levels of needs. So that physiological need of sleep, water, food, then into safety and security. And again, we've talked about this before, when people are in pain and they don't feel safe to move, they're not able to sleep, they're maybe not eating and feeding nutrition well, they're maybe breaking down with you know, friendships and connections are deteriorating. So despite not just the unpleasant experience of pain itself, chronic pain can actually impact on all our hierarchy of needs. And, you know, so we can address and improve pain and injury. So that could be at that sort of physiological level and could help to contribute further up. But I would like to think that if you act further up, so giving somebody friendship connections, giving somebody purpose, self-esteem, then could you feed down that in turn you're getting that security, you're maybe getting that, feeling that little bit more safe to move around, that safety in numbers, I suppose. So I've sort of seen this, and while it's not an exact kind of linear process, I think there are certain things that we do as therapists and health coaches that we can impact, which I would hope and anticipates down or filters down. Sorry. So physical activity guidelines for adults are now well documented. So if I say to somebody like Jean, I need you to do 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise a week, and I need you to do strength twice a week, it's like you're saying when you get handed a leaflet, or you know what you should do, but chances are you're not doing this. So the World Health Organization then added this concept of every movement counts. So it's just spend less time sitting down, limit sedentary behavior, and just start small and build it up. So I play golf. There's lots of evidence that proves that golf is really good for us, and golf can be played by anyone of any age and any ability, and it can take lots of different formats, which is what I do. So I play golf in people's living rooms. I have equipment that I bring with them. I also bring them to my local golf club where we play a mixture of putting games. We play short holes, a short course. It's a real emphasis on social connection and fun. Some people will never deviate from a putting green with a putter. Others may potentially go on and play a couple of holes and have a bit of banter and a bit of competition. Other people will continue to play a short game, or there's some people I play golf with in their living room, and they'll never deviate from that, but they love it. And I build on that every week and make that more challenging. It also provides peer support for carers. So they can either get involved with the activities, and often it's great to see two people have fun together when maybe that's not what their normal day looks like. Or often carers can go and have some support together and maybe go for a walk or a coffee and provide each other with support. We'll have tea and coffee after and conversations around self-management. So again, I may spark a conversation and try and facilitate some chat among the group. Every few weeks we'll do prizes and awards, and that again feeds into that Maslow's hierarchy needs of that sort of self-esteem, friendship, connections, fulfilling needs, and that sense of belonging to a golf club community. So we're looking at getting, hats and little wristbands and different things so that people feel part of our community. So Golf and Society as an organisation also work. They have 20 sessions across England, and they're expanding into Scotland. And I've brought the first session to Northern Ireland, and we're looking at expanding that and scaling that up for people with all sorts of long-term conditions to help them manage their activity levels. And it's just some photos of some of the stuff I've been doing with some of my patients. This photo on the bottom right is my sports kits with badminton rackets, and my balloons that we play balloon tennis. I have boxing gloves. I have a little netball net. So anything that just gets people moving, and it's that sort of health by stealth message that we sort of get in behind the scenes, get people moving, and the benefits to their health and their well-being. And there's just some feedback from some of the sessions, and the one that streaks, I love seeing them smile and have fun. Again, it's that having fun. And again, some of the feedback is his behaviour's better for maybe somebody who's living with dementia, and also sleeps better at night. So just what can you do? So it takes a team to support self-management. Encourage regular movement for the older people in your life. Any movement is good. So sit to stand, little bicep curls with a tin of beans, or little seated heel raises. If you can get them standing, even better. Anything to play. We play balloon tennis, balloon badminton. Set an alarm on phones to encourage people to move. Activity tracker if you can. Ask them to make the cuppa. Don't offer to make the cuppa. Get them up, move it, and then maybe do some balance exercises when you're standing beside them, and then maybe go for a walk, maybe out into the garden or up and down the driveway. And I will always sort of get my patients to get a little exercise snack box that they'll have beside them, which just kind of prompts them, if it's there, to think, right, well, even if I do 10 of those, that's better than doing nothing at all. And then that's a few little references, and that's how to get in touch with me.
That's brilliant, Leanne. Thank you. No, you're grand. And I can say, it was really sweet to see a couple of photographs of my father in there, because Leanne's been working with him over the last sort of 9 months now, really. And he will definitely say that it's made a big difference to his life. And as somebody who doesn't live in the same country as him, it makes a big difference to my life, knowing the little bits and pieces that he'd done, because he'd loved golf for many years. And Leanne's got him doing a few little bits and pieces that he'd never thought he would do again. So that's really good. But it's such a nice, different not, I mean, in some ways it's not a new take because this is all stuff that we've been doing for years, but it's something that's going to become increasingly more important as we are a generally aging population in the UK particularly, and sort of globally. People are living longer and they are more likely to be living with long-term conditions of one sort or another. And as you say, Leanne, pain is often a little part of that. And while this isn't so much about specific pain self-management, it's about self-management, it's about empowering, it's about collaboration, it's about all those things that Pete talked about below the bits of the iceberg, below the water. It's the loneliness, it's the side effects from medication, it's the worries and the isolation and the wondering what things will be. And so it's really important work because that can improve people's quality of life and can improve their function so much and make such a massive difference to them. And it's just really good to hear as well about it being, you know, stuff that actually we can all think about for people in our lives. This doesn't even necessarily need to be clinicians that are always doing some of this stuff. It can be those of us that have, any of us that have elderly relatives, or we can provide people with advice and guidance of little things they can do when we see them in clinic if they're older. You know, we don't have to just think of frailty as being something that has happened to somebody and that's it. It's a permanent sort of state. And once you're frail, then, you know, that's yourself being limited, because actually they're only limited because the support isn't there to add to them. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much. Are there any, I haven't seen any other questions. Pete, you mentioned you were going to think about taking up golf again, so that Leanne will be well chuffed if you do that.
Yeah, I years ago, before back pain arrived, well, I think it's just before back pain arrived, I had a few lessons, etc. But then back pain arrived and I knocked it on the head. So, but looking at listening to you, Leanne, I've been looking at all the positives, like so. And some of the Tai Chi moves I use do actually help my lower back. So, because the fear is that it may upset my back pain, but I do lots of Tai Chi now where I'm waking up back in the morning and whatnot. So I'm definitely going to give that a pop again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, good.
There's that thing you talk about, Leanne, is, and I noticed it with my dad, and I mean, it's embarrassing in a way because I am a physio as well by background, but, you know, if you ask my father to take a couple of steps backwards just in a room, even with his relator there, he would immediately get into his head and panic a bit about it and feel unsteady and come across as really unable to do it. And I stood beside him on a little putting green at Leanne's golf course where she had put the ball down, but she'd put it too close to him for him to be able to hit with the putter. So he had to take a couple of steps backwards as part of getting ready to putt this ball. But it's about the intention of the activity, isn't it? It's about task focused.
Yeah, it's changing the task.
Yeah,
changing the exactly changing the task, changing the focus, and giving them something else to do. Yeah. And even one of the little drills that we do with people as well is just if you have the hole, it's just any target. It could be a mug in your hallway. It doesn't have to be a golf course. And then just 3 little markers. So first ball, okay, can you get the ball as close to that mug or that line? Okay, can you take these few side steps? Can you do it again? Can you take a few side steps? So you actually have somebody sideways, weight shift and transfer and stepping forward, stepping back, and they don't even think about it. Whereas if you take them away from their frame or their stick and ask them to do it, then it becomes a problem. So it's that health by stealth. You're trying to get in, and how can you get them to do what you want them to do without thinking about it?
Yeah, well, it's about fun, isn't it? It's about fun, and it's about collaboration. They aren't having stuff done to them. They're actively involved in it, and it's just another wonderful example of everything that we do with these conferences, where it's a combination of, we're talking about stuff really high level at policy and getting things changed on a national scale, and then it's kind of like, actually, let's get into the nitty gritty of what we can each as individuals do with the people that we see, and do little things to make a big difference to quality of life. So thank you for giving your time this morning to us, Leanne.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Really appreciate it. And enjoy the last presenter of the day. I'm going to hand over now, and I'm going to do, we're handing over now to Dave Oxley, who is over the last few years has just become increasingly active working with Pete in the Pain Toolkit. And it's been a pleasure getting to know him over the last few years. Pete is living with long-term pain and self-managing it very well, having completed initially Pete's online courses and gotten involved with things like the Pain Cafe and things like that. So I will leave I will leave Dave now to tell us all about his journey and hand over him for the final presentation of the morning. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Grainne. Am I sharing the right screen so you're seeing it in slide view?
Yes, I can see your slides, yeah. Perfect.
Right, brilliant. So, yeah, hi, everyone. Pete's been pressuring me for, don't know how long to get more front and centre on these things. So this time, in addition to doing the tech support behind the scenes, he's put me down to talk. So a great honour to do that. And wow, what amazing talks we've had so far today. They've been absolutely inspirational, and part of the time I was thinking, hey, I need to change my talk, and then I was like, nope, we're on the day of the talk. Let's do the one that you actually prepared. So I'm going to talk about a journey through pain, and you'll see that my slides are slightly branded with the Pain Toolkit, and that's deliberate because all of the stuff I do around pain is done through the the Pain Toolkit. So I've got a series of images, more than words on this deck, because I find for me that the images stick with me long after the words that have been spoken disappear. And my pain started originally back in 2007 on a plane, then again in 2009 on a plane. On both of those occasions, chiros and physios managed to get me out of pain, and I kind of had a normal life again. And then in 2011, so we've got odd years and planes, and my back went again on a plane, and this time the pain decided it really liked my body and it wasn't going to go away. I blame my company for this because I'm just over 6 foot. They put me in cattle class. I fell asleep. I may or may not have had a drink before a 10-hour flight and just fell asleep for the entire duration on each occasion. And yeah, I woke up, my back had locked up, saw the medical professionals, got it moving a bit, but the pain was always there. So from 2011 through to about 2015, I tried pretty much everything. Medication, I could have rattled as I walked around. If I went out for the day, the amount of tablets I took were unbelievable, just so that I believed I needed them so that I could get through the day. And at that point in time, I did. I had multiple injections. I tried acupuncture. I tried some weird and wonderful contraptions or drinks. They were absolutely awful. Didn't make any difference, but they tasted awful. And then I even let Count Dracula have a go at my neck. That was the pain consultant trying to numb the nerves as they join my spine. And there were actually 4 injections put into my neck. And that was supposed to reduce the pain, because most of my pain at the time was coming off my neck where I've got my hand at the moment. And even thinking about it makes it, psychologically, it's just made it come back, even though I know it's not there. And yeah, that was supposed to numb it. I went home that night after having those injections, and it was probably 5 times worse than it was before I went in for the injections. And the help I got from him was, well, you'll have to wait a couple of weeks and then it'll ease. And that was from a pain consultant. So that wasn't overly good. I mean, I'm paraphrasing what he actually said. I can't remember because it was too long ago. And then for the next 5 or 6 years, I kind of blundered around in this zombie zone. I was living, but I wasn't living. I was getting up, I was going to work, I was trying to do things with the kids and the wife, I was trying to do things around the house. I took the kids to activities, but all my waking thoughts revolved around the pain first. And then anything else came later. And Grainne mentioned earlier about foggy brain, and the way I was explaining it to people, because I'm a geek and I work in IT, I was saying it's like you've got a virus on your computer. That virus is taking up all of the resources, all of your processor, all of the memory, and then you're trying to do something on that computer after that. So all my thought process has slowed down. All of my will to do anything kind of just disappeared. I got involved in various different charities and things just to try and do something worthwhile, because I didn't feel like I was doing anything worthwhile. And then eventually in 2019, I decided I'd had enough. I'd had enough of feeling like pain was everything. And I went back to the notes I got from the NHS pain management course I went on 2014, 2015, something like that. At the time, my GP thought it was right for me, the pain consultant thought it was right for me, but it wasn't the right time for me. So although I learned some stuff on that course, I wasn't receptive because it wasn't the right time for me. I'd had enough of being in pain, and it was the right time for me in 2019. And I just started following Pete on Twitter when it wasn't quite as unpleasant as it's become now, and had been interacting with a few of his posts. And he started up the Pain Toolkit Cafe from an idea he got in New Zealand. And I went along to one of those and then one on his courses. And without over-egging it, it changed my life. Since 2019, I was still on a heck of a lot of medication. I was on something like 20 tablets a day of various different flavors, including tablets to offset the side effects of some of the tablets interacting with each other, which was always a thing that did my head in. But by the end of 2023, through 2.5 years or so, I managed to wean off all of my medication. So for the last 2 and almost 3 years, almost 3 years, I've been off of pain medication. And apparently that was Pete's best Christmas present. So managed to give something back to him. But it was the pain toolkit that changed my life around my relationship with pain. The pain is still there. It still hurts every time I take a breath. It still hurts every time I move. And it's all down the left-hand side. It's really weird. Cut me in half. The right-hand side's fine. The left-hand side is agony. But the pain is still there. The medication's not there. My life is hundreds of times better than it was back then. And Pete, I mentioned earlier, he nicked the slide back that I stole off him. When I did the pain toolkit, Pete was doing the 12 steps, and that was a lot of information to get over in 2.5 hours. After that, he did the work on simplifying it down into the 5 key skills. And what I'm going to do over the next 5 slides is talk about my journey through those 5 key skills. Because even though I did the original kit with the 12 steps, the 12 steps in it, these 5 things are what I now use every day to live well with pain. So, goal setting. First thing to point out here, this is Arsenal women scoring a goal, so we can have a round of applause for that, because they're an amazing team. But it's not just the goal setting takes multiple forms. There's, what am I going to do today? Am I at work today? Have I got some stuff to do around the house? Do I want to go to the gym? All of that. I need to plan my day before I get out of bed, or before I go to bed the previous night, so that I know what I'm going to be doing during the day. Having things turn up unexpected early on used to blow everything out of the water, and it used to put me right back to the start. So I know roughly what I'm going to be doing the next day. I've also got short to medium-term goals and long-term goals. Back in 2011, I set a goal of becoming a swimming teacher. I finally achieved that in 2022, I think it was, so 11 years. I set a goal when my daughter started swimming back in 2008 to take part in a gala alongside her or my son that swam. And I finally managed to do that in 2023, I think. So, so those goals were long term. But the things I was doing each day, each week, each month, they were helping to build up towards me being able to achieve those goals. And all of my goals are around things I want to do, not things I have to do. So I mentioned work. I actually enjoy what I do for work, so doing that is fine. I want to keep my house tidy, so I plan to do my housework. I put that into my schedule for the day. If I'm feeling I can't be bothered, no one's coming around the house for the next couple of weeks, then the housework doesn't even come into the goals. The goals are all about things I want to do that will either bring me some form of pleasure or will make my life slightly better. And by focusing those goals on being something that I want to do, it's a heck of a lot easier to actually achieve them. My current goal is to redo my front garden. I had a porch put in earlier this year, and at the same time, I got the person that was doing it to rip out my front garden, all the lawn out the front. So I'm slowly but surely putting flowers and other things in there to make it more attractive to bees and insects and things. That's going to probably take me another 2 years to finish. But this afternoon, part of my goal for today is to go and do my shopping, go for a swim, and then I might do a bit of gardening. That's an optional one, the bit of gardening at the end of the day. So I've got the stuff I know I'm going to do, and I've got a high confidence that I'm going to be able to do it. And then I've got things that if I'm feeling okay and I haven't overdone it, and I know that I'm not going to overdo it by doing that extra one, that's one of the extra things I'm going to do. There's another technique that was taught around the goal setting, and that is, if my confidence of being able to do it is lower than 7 out of 10, that's not an achievable goal. So, at the moment, I can't do. If I said my goal this afternoon after I've done the other activities was to go and do an hour's gardening, my confidence of doing that would be about 2 out of 10. So that's not a goal. That's just a pie in the sky. It's a moonshot. May happen, but it's highly unlikely. If, however, I'm really determined to do some gardening, I might say, well, actually, I'm going to do about 15 minutes of gardening, and then my confidence goes up to about 8 out of 10. So that's it. I'll do 15 minutes of gardening, and then I'll take a break. So that's how the goal setting works for me. Dershee mentioned this. I was thinking, hang on, she's nicked my slides, but then I realised she sent hers through before me. Boom and bust. This was what I was doing in the 2010s. I would have a good day, I would get up, I would go to work, I'd do something with the kids in the evening, and then I'd spend the next day at work trying to keep my eyes open because I was in so much pain that I didn't know how I was out of bed. Now I still have boom and busts. I did it last Saturday. It was kind of a conscious thought. I had a charity event in the morning. I saw one of my kids in the afternoon, and then I judged at a swimming gala in the evening. Given that it was my second swimming gala in 12 months that I judged at, I realised pretty early on last Saturday that I was going to overdo it. So I changed my plans for the Sunday. I knew that I'd done too much, so I had a rest day on the Sunday. I still got out, I still saw some friends, but I cut back on all of the other activities. So, exciting things like the ironing, the vacuuming, the washing up, they sat there on the Sunday, and I picked them up slowly over the rest of the week. So I didn't actually bust on the Saturday, but I wasn't far off it. But because I've been doing it for a fair length of time, I could spot that I was getting close to a bust, so I could adapt how I was doing things during that day. When I was early on in managing my pain, I couldn't spot that I was about to bust. So I would bust really frequently. Whereas now I bust once or twice a year, probably completely. And then I have probably 7 or 8 instances like last weekend where I push myself beyond what is comfortable because I know that I can rest the next day. The proper definition of pacing, and the way I do it most of the time, is taking a break before I need it. And that's the key thing. It's taking that break before we need it. So last weekend, whilst I was seeing one of my kids, it was like, right, I don't care what you want to do for the next half an hour, I'm going to sit here. And so we sat and had a chat for half an hour. And the reason being is I needed that rest, because I knew what I had coming later. And I knew that if I just kept pushing on, I would have to take a rest, probably halfway through the gala, which doesn't look good if one of your judges suddenly sits down and doesn't get up again. Whereas by having that break earlier and forcing myself to take it, I was able to get through the entire gala without busting. So, it sounds counterintuitive that you take a break and then you can do more. But if you're taking a break and you're only halfway to what you're capable of doing, by taking that break regularly, you might be able to do 3 lots of half of what you could normally do, rather than doing 1 lot of all you could do and then collapsing. And that's definitely working for me today. Meaningful movement was the next one. And this one was good back in the day. I used to do 1 sit-up a day. It's the old joke of I did the sit-up bit in the morning and I did the lay down in the evening. And that was pretty much my movement. I would somehow get into the car, I would drive to work, I would collapse in my chair, I would get up at the end of the day and I would drive home. So I did a little bit of walking, but I did pretty much nothing, because I just thought the pain was damage, and therefore it wasn't safe for me to do exercise or to do movement. I thankfully got that beaten out of me, and I got back into swimming so that I could then compete against my kids. Don't need to mention it to them too often, but I'm still the family breaststroke champion. So yeah, that one will probably go to my grave with me, because they both of my kids that swim hate breaststroke. So I'm the family breaststroke champion, and I'll take that one to my grave. I'm also an award-winning dancer as well, which, if anyone has seen me, will probably think, you what? But I was doing a charity event and they had a dance thing for kids, and my youngest was about 6 at the time. And then it was a parents' dance and he dragged me up there. So I hobbled across this field in wellies, in waterproofs, because it had been raining, with a walking stick, and took part in this dance competition. And as I came across the field, you could see the compare's face dropping, because he's thinking, what the heck is going to happen here if this guy falls over? And the reason I won the competition is because it was based on the public vote of the cheering. And I think I got the sympathy vote. However, if I don't go into all that detail, I can say that despite the persistent pain, I am an award-winning dancer. So meaningful movement each day. I do my stretches, not necessarily as frequently as I should do. I try and go to the gym more often than not. I haven't been much recently because I've been under the weather. I've still been moving around the house. I haven't been out as much because I haven't felt well enough, but I've been moving around the house. I've been walking around the house more. I've been doing a bit more stretching. I've been doing some more static strength exercises just to do something. But the meaningful movement is anything. I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be gardening this afternoon. That's movement, and it's meaningful. I'm going to do my shopping. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but again, it's movement. The swimming, that will definitely be movement. That's my happy place. In the pool, goggles on, earplugs in, head in the water. Now try and talk to me. Can't. It's absolutely perfect for me. And for my particular pain condition, swimming pools are perfect. There's very little impact. There's a lot of support. So I can actually push myself quite hard in there, and I can actually swim faster than I can walk, which most people would say it's the other way around. So I've found my happy, meaningful movement. I still have one more long-term goal in meaningful movement, and that is to get back on a push bike, because I used to cycle everywhere. At the moment, I still can't use a stationary bike consistently, so I'm not at the point where I'm going to try an outside bike, but it's one of my long-term goals. I've set no deadline on it, but it's one of those things that I will achieve at some point. Who knows when, but I will get there eventually. And I will do, every now and again, I have a little burst of thinking, right, which muscle groups do I use? Which exercise, which ones do I need to strengthen? What movement do I need to do? And I go through a little phase of it. But at the moment, I'm not fussed about getting back on a bike. So I'm focusing on the swimming and the gardening as my two main sources of meaningful movement, as well as just generally moving around the house. I'm a mathematician by trade, so problem solving. It's not all maths, so you'll all be delighted to hear about that. Lovely parabolic 3D shape there. I used to know what the formula was for that, but I can't remember. Things crop up. Life is never a linear line. So we need to work out, you need to be able to look at something and inspect and adapt. And this is the trouble that I found when I had all of that pain and it was taking up all of my processing capacity. I couldn't problem solve. Every small problem became a mountain. It became, every little molehill sort of grew up exponentially. So if you can't work out how to solve something, ask somebody, talk to somebody else, try and do something instead. Everything you try won't work, but it doesn't matter, because by trying something, you're starting to take control. And when it all goes wrong, getting back on track or having a setback plan. So I mentioned that I almost busted last weekend. So this week I've been halving. I started off on Sunday. I probably cut down to about 20% of what I was originally going to do on the Sunday. And I've been building that up during the week because I didn't completely bust, so I can recover relatively quickly. So I will be going back to the gym this afternoon for the first time since last weekend. I will have a gentle swim. I won't be racing anyone or anything, but it will be just getting me back into it. And then over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'll slowly build up my distance and the effort being put into each swim until I get back to what I was before I picked up some virus about 5 weeks ago. But the important thing about getting back on track is it doesn't happen instantaneously. You might think, oh, yesterday I was able to do that. I had a bust or something went wrong, and today I should be back to where I was. No, something went wrong. I'm going to be 50%, 40%, 60%, depending on how your body is, of what I was normally or what I am normally, and I will slowly build it up as my body is ready for it. Now, every now and again, I push my body harder than it thinks it wants to, and it works. And then I push it harder than it thinks it wants to, and it doesn't work. So, you've got to take those things into consideration, that when it's gone wrong, it depends how badly it's gone wrong, and then how your body's going to recover. And everyone recovers differently. So if you're a medical professional and you're talking to somebody, one of your patients, about a setback plan, it has to be their plan. You can guide them, but they have to be really confident that that setback plan will work for them. The first couple of times, it may be you telling them what the setback plan should be because they don't understand it yet. But over time, you really want them to own that setback plan. And after going through all that and practicing it every day, life now, it's not a straight line. There are still bumps along the road. I would hate to walk over this field here because I like level ground, so I can put my stick down and get a decent grip on it so that I don't fall over when I'm walking. But my life is ultimately so much better than it was because pain doesn't drive my day-to-day life. I drive it. Excuse me. The pain is still there. I would lie if I said it wasn't there. And because I've been talking about it, I can feel it a heck of a lot more than I could at the beginning of the conference today. And that's just purely because I'm talking about my journey. So my brain is starting to trigger things and you just go, oh, hang on a minute. You mentioned you had pain in your neck. Oh, let me have a look. Oh, yeah, your neck it does hurt a bit there. And it's starting to send off all the signals and it's starting to process them. But because I know my body and I know that I've had this pain for so long, that just because I feel pain in the places I usually feel it doesn't mean I've got an injury. So I will carry on and do stuff. And here's my contact details, and I'll finish here. The reason I got Rusty Stick Man is because of that dance competition, because it was where I had a stick and I looked quite rusty when I was dancing. So I got the nickname of Rusty Stick Man with the group I was hanging out with, and it's kind of hung around. So thank you. Back to you, Grainne.
And you'll have to put my camera back on again for me.
Oh, do I? Okay. Nope, you've done it yourself.
Oh, no, I've done it myself this time. Thank you, Dave. I always think I love hearing everybody talk on these conferences. You know, from the people at the top of organisations, clinicians working one-to-one in the community with people, but there is something just even more important about just hearing the actual lived experience of somebody going through that journey and how that looked for them. And I think we can take for granted as healthcare professionals sometimes what it takes to come out and speak in front of people and do those kind of conversations and share that story. So and we maybe forget just how daunting that can sometimes be. So we are very grateful whenever people are happy to share that story, because that's what reminds us that this is what it's all about. It's about empowering, it's about changing the narrative for people, it's about supporting and caring and nurturing, but ultimately the person that's going to do the work is the person living with pain, and they're the one that's got to be in charge and very much collaborated with to kind of figure out what that's going to look like for them, because ultimately you're the only person that can do that journey. We can provide a helpful narrative. We can certainly make sure that we don't provide bad information, outdated medical information, procedures where they aren't going to be warranted, lots of over investigation, continuing to keep you stuck in that medical model. So there's definitely things that we shouldn't do, but even in stuff that we should do, it should be about giving you as much ability to feel confident and supported. So being careful to make sure that we make that safe space to build up your confidence in what you can do, providing you with the right information, the right resources, and then trusting and helping you to trust yourself to go on and do that journey. So brilliant to hear it. And thank you very much for sharing that with us. So I think, you know, I think for a first time presentation, that was pretty darn good, really.
Thank you.
I think, you know, you did really, really well. And I just would like to sort of just ask if there is any more sort of questions for anybody. Just now's your last chance to sort of put them in the chat. Be really good to hear if anybody either in the chat or wants to come on and sort of say if there's any take home messages that they have from this, you know, about anything that they've heard today, if there's any one particular thing that kind of stuck with them from anybody's conversation. But I really just want to thank Pete and Dave for continuing to allow me to be a very small part of this. I really enjoy every time I get to do this. It means a great deal to me. So thank you. And thank you to all the presenters today. It's much appreciated, giving their time and their energy and their experience and expertise to us.
Yeah, I just want to echo that, everyone. Thanks for everybody for registering. And it's been another good conference. And thanks also for the presenters, as top notch to me, really on the money, really interesting, very informative, etc. And but thanks everybody for sending in the questions, etc. A few people now will be contacting, have asked me to contact them, so I'll do that in due course. Dave, that was the business mate, as Grainne says. It was your first presentation. It won't be the last.
Yeah, thanks.
And, but no, for Thursday, I always remember when I first done my one in, of all places, at Madrid. I think it's about 1999, something like that. And back then, they didn't have none of this stuff. Like I'd be there, and it was overhead slides, the acetate business.
Yeah.
And I got up to the lectern, and all I could feel was my feet sinking into the marble flooring or granite flooring. And all I said to myself was, "Oh, thank God for that. At least I won't fall over." So I thought my feet would gone right into them. So, yeah, so I think the first time is always the interesting time, as they say. Yeah, so has anybody got any questions before we all get on with the weekend, etc.? And next one's going to be next year. We've got a third one
Yeah,
on the
17th of October, I think you said.
17th, yeah, 17th of October.
So if anyone's interested in talking and has got a good story, please reach out to us. Otherwise, we'll be reaching out to people, but we're always open for new speakers and stuff in a supportive environment to cut their teeth, as it were.
Self-managers, people that work in self-management, international speakers. We'll always like to get the international people in. But don't forget the next one. I say it's a bit of a, as I said earlier on, a bit of a bonkers time of the night. It's when it starts. I think David, you're going to be with me on that one?
Well, I'm doing the tech support again, so I don't have to go on camera, which is good because it's a 2 a.m. start. So
I'll always be there, Pete.
Yeah, cheers, baby. So we'll see everybody again on the 20th of the 20. Is it the 21st of? No, yeah, 21st of February next year.
Yeah.
And as I say, I've got some fantastic speakers as we did today.
And we've already had a volunteer to share a story. So Katie's offered. So.
Hello. Is that the Katie we know?
It's the my friend from High Wycombe.
Oh right, okay, fair enough. Oh, I know who you mean now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we follow each other on Instagram.
Yeah.
So we're all on Instagram, all the three of us, and so come and join us on there. We're always posting good information, etc. So anyway, wish everybody a safe, peaceful weekend, and get out there and hey, take up some golf. Oh.